having made inquiries this morning. That will happen. Ryan Mason as another interim for the third time. It is a possibility.
talkSPORT Sports Update powered by the Nissan Van range. Commercial vehicles built around your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van centre.
With your headlines at 10:01, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. As Dominic Szoboszlai warns Liverpool need to give themselves a jolt before they wake up in the Conference League. We're told the pressure on Slot is real. Here's Liverpool.com reporter Matt Addison.
The pressure is to get more from the players he's got, but also Liverpool have got a little bit of an unbalanced squad. They lack pace and width and quality in wide areas. There's obviously been shortages at centre-back and right-back as well.
Liverpool were booed off at Anfield after Richarlison's 90th minute equaliser. Spurs take confidence into a huge week. Has that saved Igor Tudor's future at Tottenham?
I never think about my future, my past. I always think about training tomorrow, how to help the players. Don't read nothing, don't watch nothing. Future is just imagination. Future don't exist. It's a constant of today, tomorrow training.
Tudor will be in charge for Spurs versus Atletico Madrid. That's live on talkSPORT 2 on Wednesday night. Now, Thomas Tuchel drops his latest England squad on Friday. We've asked Max Dowman's former academy coach if the 16-year-old might go along for the experience.
We've seen with Arteta, he drafted him into training from the age of 14. And, of course, he's now been playing in under-21s and had opportunities with the first team.
Temerson Williams says Tuchel knows best, but is asking us all to calm down with comparing his 16-year-old Dowman to legends of the game. And despite England's worst ever Six Nations, former head coach Eddie Jones has told us the RFU should stick with Borthwick, but he's got to make a call on his fly half.
He started with George Ford at 10, then went to Finn Smith at 10, and that's in rugby, you know, it's a crucial position. It's generally a quarterback, so that's going to be a big decision on who he continues with, and that person needs to have a run of games now up until the World Cups.
World Cups next year. More at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
Antibiotics are being given out for meningitis after an outbreak in Canterbury, and 5 people are taken to hospital after a 15-vehicle crash on the M73 last night. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Rain or shine, our mobile tyre fitting service comes to you, so you can stay on the sofa this winter. Book today at quickfit.com. Conditions apply.
Cloudy and breezy for most of us, rain moving eastwards. Far south staying largely dry though. Average temperatures turning warmer through the week.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown, and we are live on talkSPORT. So Spurs take a point at Liverpool. Did we witness something that's been missing in recent weeks? A bit of Tottenham fight. Meanwhile, after Chelsea's huddle to respect the ball, have Premier League players become too performative? Also today, what do Arsenal have in Max Dowman? Should players ignore the noise or put it right? Did the Six Nations deliver on all fronts? Has it all gone bizarrely flat for Slot? And what will rule against Carrick for the United job full-time? Jim White, Simon Jordan, Martin Keown, and we are live on talkSPORT.
100% engagement.
Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
Now, Simon, before we go any further, I think with Arsenal invincible Martin Keown in our midst, I think Martin wants the right of reply on a few things. One with Gabby Bonlahor, who I heard moments ago you were trying to get a hold of him before he left the building, but he left the building very quickish. And the right of reply.
I did see Simon high-five him on the way in.
You did.
Yeah.
You saw Simon high-five Gabby.
Yeah.
And the right of reply to Martin, was this about a tweet that Simon had last week?
Well, Simon, maybe you should explain. What did you say?
Morning.
What the ridiculous lack of objectivity towards a penalty that wasn't, and the bias, and then the refusal to answer the question from the journalist because you didn't want to put yourself in a corner when they said if it was given against you.
Well, I shouldn't even be asked that sort of question.
Why not? Well, because you're a defender.
Does anyone else have that question? The other teams that were represented in Europe
if you're a defender and it's a very iffy penalty and you go straight in as penalty, someone's going to turn around and say, well, if you were a defender, because it's logical, it's decent journalism, which is rare, to turn around and say, well, if you're on the receiving end, would you think that was a penalty? So that's the reason why I think there's a lack of objectivity.
They were very respected commentators. Lucy Ward, Pundit of the Year, Adam Summerton, who said they thought it was a penalty. I'm not the only one in the room. So
they're now experts.
I'm not the co-commentator. I'm not the co-commentator.
Commentators.
I've taken all the information on board, and I felt that okay, yes, it looks as if his foot gets trapped. Okay, so for me, that's just. I don't think that's being biased. I've just seen what I've seen. There was a penalty at the weekend actually wasn't given against Havertz.
That's a fair comment, Martin.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for those guys, they haven't shared the studio with you as much times as we have. So we have seen it.
But the thing is,
all its glory.
The fact was, though, you were like all those fans, the detractors of Arsenal, who's tuned in the 89th minute to say Arsenal are going to lose, it's going to blow up. And when that didn't happen, you were like the angry man shouting at the man on the television who was saying, no, it was a penalty because it didn't go with your narrative.
The irony of that is it wasn't directed at Arsenal, it was directed at you. So my issue with Arsenal is that I've been championing Arsenal against all of the situation of the last 2 weeks where I've seen a narrative being seeded with idiot observers like Pardew turning around and saying there's an asterisk if Arsenal win the league. So you've got no substance
there. So what happened there? Would you having a little glass of wine or something?
No, I watched an
aberration or what?
I normally have a large glass of wine if you're on.
Yeah,
right?
Okay.
But I was listening to you, not the performance of Arsenal. I'm not the one that says Arsenal winning ugly.
I was looking at the evidence.
I'm not the one looking at.
I was looking at third replay.
But you're asking me about me.
It was when there's a 50-50 penalty and people look. There's so many people out there who don't want Arsenal.
But I don't think it was 50-50.
You can't deny that. You can't deny that.
No,
you got into that group just for a small period. Just for a small period.
No.
You got into that group. Arsenal haven't failed.
I got into the anti. I don't know.
They've managed to equalise.
I got into the anti-Keown group because I think sometimes you talk utter nonsense.
So Gabby is talking absolute.
Oh yeah. That's a given. We priced that in, Gabby.
Just want to say, I went to Lille with the Villa fans, and another club I'm fond of because I played for them. It's not just Arsenal, obviously nice. Everton. Yeah. Great set of supporters. Really nice chatting to them. Spent a bit of time with them. Yeah. Gabby wasn't even born then, by the way.
Right. Okay.
Anyway, we have to listen to
when you played for Arsenal.
Villa.
So Gabby wasn't even born.
Probably not.
Shut up.
I think he was.
Intellectually, maybe, yeah.
So, Martin, having had your right of reply, do you think that went well?
Well, I think
in Keown land,
I'm just defending myself. You know?
Good morning, everyone. It's 9 minutes past 10, and we've gone early. But that's how it often can happen on this show. Simon, good morning.
Morning.
It's going to be a good one. Mr. Keown is working hour that God sends at the moment.
I hope we get to talk about Arsenal at some point.
You're on my script.
I know they're top of the league, but
you're on my
they're not on the script this morning. I know.
You're on talkSPORT. My God, you're everywhere.
Well, we have two pundits to join this show on a regular basis, and they're both Arsenal. Petit and you. How much more focus on Arsenal will you want?
Well, we have Murphy and Liverpool.
Oh yeah, I know, but as a regular thing, we've now got weighted towards Arsenal.
All right.
I only seem to answer questions on Arsenal when they've only lost 3 times this season. So
just for Martin,
it's been tricky for you.
We will get to Arsenal because they lead the way. It's theirs to lose. They're away in front, etc. And what a story with Max Dman. But I want to start with events at Anfield yesterday. And Martin, we may as well carry on with your good self because you're firing in all cylinders. Did we witness something that's been missing in recent weeks? A bit of Tottenham fight at Anfield yesterday.
You could say that. I did see a better spirit, there's no doubt. And there is obviously it has to start somewhere, this improvement. But just one a point, Jim. That's all they've really mustered in recent weeks. I haven't seen a victory. What is it, in 12 matches? So it's. I don't know if I've seen enough of an indication that they're going to turn this around. They've got some incredibly difficult fixtures coming up. They play Forest next, which is almost a winner takes all. But
huge game.
I thought it was interesting with two strikers. I thought it was interesting they went more direct. Maybe that was as a result of the goals they conceded against Atletico Madrid, trying to pass out from the back, so they tried to miss that one out. They looked better when they went direct. They looked quite good on the sides. So it's a step in the right direction, but for me, I still haven't seen enough there that I'm not convinced that they're going to get out of trouble here.
Well, I mean, to a large extent, maybe somewhat unkindly as well, a lot of people thought, what, Tottenham got a point? Really? Tottenham got a point? Because before that game, you might not have thought they'd come away with anything. And I was amongst those people. Igor Tudor had something of an awkward post-match interview with Sky Sports' Patrick Davison. I know Patrick well. Good interviewer he is as well. But was he right to nibble back, or was it unnecessarily defensive, Tudor? Tudor basically was caught up post-match with Patrick. And Patrick was trying to put it to him, have you shown that really you could be the man full-time?
Have you shown that you can provide that hope? That you don't need a new manager. But listen, do you not think
it's enough with this? I always tell you what I think.
But do you not think sometimes these questions need to be asked and need to be answered? You've got a lot of Spurs fans all around the world.
No, not a question for me. I'm the coach. You need to ask me about play, about how we play, how we.
I have.
And I answer. This question you like to, journalists to ask is nothing about. It's a question that doesn't have sense, but you always insist. So coach need to ask for something, because he's obliged to come on this press conference, otherwise he would like to stay home.
I'm sure. The point being, you can provide the hope. I mean, you said in an interview on Friday, I didn't say that. You said people need hope of a new manager sometimes, and my point is only, have you shown today with the way Tottenham play that you can provide hope?
What do I think? What I will ask for you now? What kind of questions? What I need to tell you now? No.
You can say whatever you like.
Yeah. What you will tell on my place? Of course.
You can just say whatever you like.
If we finish or no?
We're finished.
Okay, thank you.
So you heard Tudor there say, well, what would you say in my place? And I get that, Simon, but is it not perfectly legitimate to put questions to a manager like Tudor at this time about his own future?
Well, he can't answer them, can he? I mean, that was a question that was re-engineered, because the original question was, can you tell us whether about the new manager? I mean, what kind of question is that to ask the existing manager? I mean, the fact that the journalist recovered his poise, re-engineered the conversation, re-engineered the question to give himself some legitimacy, and an arsehole clever question from the outset, which if I was the manager, I would have got very fed up with as well. The fact is, you shouldn't give it to them, because these are not interviews designed to get insight. These are interviews designed to create headlines and to create click and to create jeopardy. Now, maybe that's the new norm. Maybe that's what people want.
It's always been the case.
But is it?
Post-match interviews are designed. They're designed to get a line out of the guy you're interviewing.
Sitting there talking about
that will make a headline.
But you're sitting there talking about someone's job. And I'd love it to be turned on journalists when they write bad articles. Oh, do you think you'll lose your job if you write another bad article? Because they wouldn't be able to cope with it. So it seems to be the staple diet of football that journalists can just talk to a man about the fact he's likely to lose his job.
No, but wait a minute. You would accept that going into this game, Tudor's job was a huge point of discussion.
Amongst whom?
Not us.
Well, I mean,
everyone. Every broadcaster, every writer.
But it wasn't. Tudor's job safety wasn't a discussion for me. If we want to ask those questions, because it's a staple diet of football now, which is ultimately we should be sacking people if they don't perform well in 4 games, then fine, I accept that. That's not how I operate, but I understand the lay of the land. Now, in reaction to Tudor's response...
you sacked 10 managers.
Because I employed them and I knew why I was doing it and I had the right to do it and I paid the wages and I paid the consequences of making those decisions. Journalists don't.
But the Spurs hierarchy would have been every right to sack Tudor had they get stuffed 6-7 years.
But then they'll do it. We're not talking about Spurs hierarchy. We're not talking about who put the piper that pays the tune. We're talking about people that are curating and creating outcomes, and I don't agree with it. So you're not going to get me to agree with it. But I understand.
But part of yesterday's task was for him to demonstrate that he can have a platform or create a platform from which they can build to stay.
Exactly.
Now they've gone 12 games. They haven't won a game since December the 28th, Jim.
Yeah.
Now I saw some, shoots of recovery, but I'm not completely convinced yet that they're going to get out of trouble. Do you know? We're going to talk about that a bit later on. Who's really down there? Yeah. But their fixtures,
given the run of form, I mean, Leeds are going to draw their way to safety. Ironically, there's a part of me that thinks that Leeds have performed so well and have done so well in the last 24 games that they've played in, where they've been more successful than they had previously, yet they're still in touching distance.
They've got the easiest fixtures.
They may well do, but they got beat at home by Sunderland the other day, which people would have thought.
But there are no easy fixtures. But when you look at the calibre of the teams, Spurs, Jim, have got some tricky ones.
But it's interesting. Roy Keane was talking yesterday, wasn't he? He was talking about the one team that he thought would get out of it was Spurs. I don't know whether he was playing devil's advocate. But going back to the manager, the team's performance was, ironically, it's one of those games where players haven't got sent off, goalkeepers have. There's nothing we could take from the game against Atletico Madrid. The goalkeeper that everyone felt needed to be wrapped up in cotton wool for his appalling performance had thrown him into the cart. So you can get no judgment out of the Atletico Madrid game because they were thrown in the cart by their goalkeeper. In the previous game against Palace, the centre-half gets sent off. So those two games are, in some respects, not really fair.
Yeah.
Now, you look at the Liverpool game and you say common sense prevailed. He decided not to play out from the back against Liverpool and just went long.
But who picked the goalie?
He did, and he got repaid for it.
Yeah, but he exposed the keeper. He put him in a situation that he should never have been in. Vicario should have been the opening goalkeeper in that Atletico.
Well, there's a school of thought that suggests A, this goalkeeper played very well last year in a League Cup semi-final, or somewhere in around that advanced stages of the competition. B, Vicario
he was erratic at best.
Vicario has not
unpredictable,
and Vicario's coming in for enormous criticism. And I thought he was appalling in the game against Palace. I thought he bottled out against the third goal.
He perhaps should have saved it yesterday.
And so maybe throwing him against the Champions League. But these players will be knocking on the door saying, "I can do better, boss." And that's what managers are supposed to do, aren't they?
Right,
Got it wrong.
On Igor Tudor, at this stage, what would feel like the bigger gamble, sticking with him or rolling the dice again? And as regards those down there fighting, not to be one of the three that goes down with Burnley and Wolves, Leeds, Spurs, Forest, West Ham. Who do you think looks most vulnerable at this particular stage? 03717 22 33 44 810 89. We're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
Morning, guys.
Jermaine.
Morning, Gabs.
Jay,
Morning,
good
boss. Morning, boss. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. All good.
Why are you not here, Jermaine? I thought you would be with us today in the box, smelling amazing.
I might have to come down, actually. Looks like it's going to be fun. Nice day for it.
Yeah, great day.
Jump on the headache up there, you'll be fine, mate.
He's not a racing man, I don't think, is he?
Oh,
I'm not. The boss knows I'm not really, and he's getting involved in it, though.
Yeah.
Saying all the right
He's
things.
well behaved. Didn't come on a Tuesday when he was in on the Wednesday.
No.
Yeah, he was definitely there on a Tuesday.
We're the lads here. All got the helicopter here, didn't they?
Did they?
Tottenham, yeah. Yeah.
Jermaine, it's good to have you on with this. Let's get your thoughts now on your former club. Shall we start with Spurs? It's a bit of a mess.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously it's been a hard watch all season. To be honest, I think especially the other night I watched the game and yeah, it was just I think the manager's come in and he's in, especially in that game, he's decided to start a young goalkeeper in Kingsley, and I think I was surprised when he took him off. To be honest, I think when you have a young goalkeeper and you make that decision in such a game of that magnitude to start him, I think you've got to stay with him. I think what a young goalkeeper can gain from that sort of experience, even though it weren't going well when he made the two big mistakes. But I think you've got to stay with him. And the fact that the manager decided to take him off and not really acknowledge him when he come off, I just think that human side, I think you've got to manage that situation in the right way. He doesn't look good. I think try and get through half-time and allow the senior players to get around him and help him in the second half. But to drag him off after the two mistakes, it was hard for me to see that, to be honest.
Good morning, everybody. Monday morning, 16th of March. Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown. We're all live on talkSPORT. Live on your TV as well. So many people keep reminding me that John Obi Mikel clip from Cheltenham the other day. We're going to get to that, Martin, this morning. Can't wait to get your reaction to that. So live on your TV, even Prime Video, wherever you want to watch the show, you can watch it with us live. Quite a weekend, but at the bottom, and that's where we're focusing our attention at this precise moment. Burnley and Wolves look as good as gone, of course, don't they? But draws all round for Forest at home to Fulham, Leeds away at Palace, West Ham against Manchester City, and Spurs at Liverpool. Simon, psychologically, has anyone's point moved the needle for belief?
Well, you look at the West Ham and the Forest. I mean, the Forest obviously didn't play well in Europe last week, I didn't think, but they looked like they were fighting, and West Ham certainly are fighting. But if I'm West Ham and I go and take a point of Man City, that you expected to react after the beating they took at Real Madrid and needed to react to keep themselves into the Premier League race, and they get a point, and yet they still find themselves at the end of the weekend in the bottom three. I think there's an element of dispiriting about that, but by the same token, Nuno Espirito Santo will have built up this morale inside the club because their recent performances have been commendable. They've really dragged themselves from the brink and the precipice of being completely written off by most of us into a position now where a lot of us, or a lot of people, will think they can get out in spite of either the irony of Nottingham Forest because of the managerial circumstance, or at the expense of Tottenham Hotspur and all that goes with that, getting relegated. Yeah. But I still feel, and I'm not going to change my view, that West Ham might find themselves still getting relegated. And I do think, for whatever reason, and I'm happy to be wrong, and I may well be, often am, that some way Tottenham are going to find their way through, and not because of the manager, because the players and the realisation of the players. It will be. We often talk about players in dressing rooms that can get teams across lines, and the managers almost being superfluous requirements. Or, in this instance, I think it will be the same. I think they'll wake up, and they're beginning to wake up to the reality of what might be coming their way as players.
Well, even though they got a point at Anfield, Martin, there's nothing much in my mind to suggest to me that Spurs are beginning to waken up. They're yet to win a league game in 2026. Forest remain winless in the league under Pereira, 1 win in 7 across all competitions. Spurs, as you rightly said, Spurs host Forest next weekend. That's gigantic. For Leeds, it's 2 win in 13 league matches. You look at it and you think it could be any of them. It could be any one of them.
I mean, look, safeguarding myself, there's no easy fixtures at this stage of the season if you've been in that relegation battle. But nonetheless, if we look at the degree of difficulty, I'm looking at Spurs and I'm thinking, okay, there's 3 teams around them. So there's a double headers, there's 6-pointers. So they play Forest, obviously, this one, but they'll play Wolves soon and they play Leeds. So there's opportunities there around them, but they've just got to win one of those games, and you'd like to think then they're going to just move away from it. If I look at Leeds, I think, well, okay, their fixtures are slightly easier. They're playing also, though, 3 teams around them. They play Wolves, Burnley and West Ham last game of the season. It could still go to that game. When I look at West Ham, I think I'm agreeing with Simon here. They've got 3 derby games. Don't underestimate that, because all the locals want you down. They'd love to see West Ham go down. I'm not one of those, but that's how it works. They've got difficult games, Jim, but they play Villa next. Now, Villa are going for a top 4 place. Villa only won 2 games in the last 10, but nonetheless are still in a top 4 position. If they wake up, that's a difficult game for them. So they're a difficult game. They've got to go away to Arsenal. They've got to go away to Newcastle. West Ham fixtures, they're doing remarkably well, West Ham, at the moment, to try and turn this around. Forest, though, are the team that have to wake up. And I suspect they will, but they're difficult. They've got difficult fixtures also, Jim. So those 2, West Ham, Forest, have got the difficult fixtures. It's up to Leeds to climb out and Spurs climb out of trouble. If they don't, these 2 are in the mood. I like what I see with Forest. I know they've only won 1 game in 7 under Pereira, which was against Fenerbahce, but they look like they're playing football. They're fighting.
I mean, the fascinating thing is, if you put Leeds out of the equation, who I said at the beginning are drawing their way to safety. Out of the last 24 games, they've drawn 9 of them. And they've drawn against big sides as well. But they're still drawing, and they're losing games every now and again against the Sunderlands of the world that people didn't expect. If it's Forest, if it's Spurs, or if it's West Ham, all of them come with a massive story. Yeah. West Ham going down to the Championship with all the ire towards Sunderland and his ownership. Forest going down under Marinakis and all that goes with him. Yeah. Or Spurs and everything that goes with Spurs and the scale of that football club, size of the stadium and the ramifications.
Would Spurs be the most shocking story, Simon, if they drop?
Yeah, I think so. They because of the size of the scale of this football club, the people's perception of it. They were the original architects of the Premier League, one of the 5 clubs that created the Premier League. The size of the stadium, the fact they've been in the Champions League final 5 or 6 years ago, the fact they won the Europa League last year, the fact they spent hundreds of millions of pounds, the fact their ownership model has changed and told everybody they're going to win things. All of those things, not changed actually, just asserted themselves as front of house. All of those things will make so much noise. It goes from Arsenal win the league at the same time as Tottenham get relegated.
Martin, who fills you with least confidence?
Well, it's a momentum. You can't look further than the next game.
Who fills you with least confidence at this stage?
Spurs.
Mid-March.
Spurs. They fill me with the least confidence because it's almost like the other lot. Forest have been in this little battle for a little while, and they've just fallen into it. Spurs, and okay, they've got a foundation now, but let's see then. Let's see how good they are against Forest. Who it's kind of like it's me or you, fella. Do you want to go? I certainly don't want to go down.
You're going to find out next weekend, aren't you?
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah.
It's me or you. If it's me or you, if the conversation is me or you, fella, between Forest and Spurs, you'll find out the answer to that question next week.
You think it's going to be West Ham?
I think it'll be West Ham, but in terms of the race between Forest and Spurs to get themselves away from the problem, they're playing one another next week. So we'll see if that is the battle in their own minds.
Will these Spurs fans get behind their team? I mean, because it's been toxic.
Yeah, they will.
Their home form's been shocking.
Yeah, they will. Yeah, they will.
Let's see what they do.
I think cometh the hour, cometh the man, doesn't it? I mean, whether the stadium's going to be full or not is a different matter. But we are now at the last knockings of the season. If Spurs don't wake up now, if they lose to Forest, then.
Richarlison looked better yesterday, and I think Solanke, he's not bad up top. So they give you hope. Strikers, goals.
Having said that,
Forest can't score. Forest can't score goals.
You still think Spurs look most vulnerable at this stage,
and you have to give
drop.
You have to give credit.
I certainly do. Yes, I certainly do.
By the way, if we're going to slaughter the manager for the last 4 games, you have to give him credit for changing the formation, to change the way they played, to adapt into the circumstances, to get an outcome at Liverpool. Because everybody to a man would have said. Actually, I talked to some Spurs fans on Friday. They went, the irony of it is we're so crap. We'll probably go up to Liverpool, get a point.
Or did he just
saying that to me on Friday?
Did he just get lucky?
Yeah.
Did he get lucky? He changed his system to something else,
4-4-2. You can't say that you're bad on one hand and when you do something well, it's luck. That's not fair. That's not objective.
Well, midweek, by putting that goalkeeper in was shocking, wasn't it?
Come on, the goalkeeper. If you've got a goalkeeper that clearly you think is a good enough goalkeeper, he's a number 2 for a reason. He's at a big football club.
I get it, putting him in the team, but not for the Champions League game. You go to another level.
Well, it is a strange choice.
The exposure.
It is a strange
choice. The pressure on the player.
Incidentally, Gabriel Bonlahor was born in 1986, the year Martin Keown joined Aston Villa.
Wow.
So there you go.
We got relegated and hung around and we got promoted. Kept them in the Premier League.
Memories. As we know, Tottenham went to Anfield yesterday and got themselves a draw. Does that fill Spurs fans with hope that you can get out the sticky predicament that you're in the Premier League? Will you survive? And if you do, at whose expense? So who's going to drop? Give us a call this morning. Spurs fans, Forest fans, nervous now. Leeds United fans drawing your way to safety. Is it going to be enough, said Simon, and the same Simon thinks West Ham ultimately will join Burnley and Wolves in dropping down. Give us a call, 03717 223344.
So typical.
So nonsensical.
PSG 3, Chelsea 2, and goodness me, boys, you've shot yourselves in the foot.
What is that? What is that?
I said it. We said it. You bring in a keeper because he's good with his feet,
but really and truly, is he that good with his feet? Watch this shambolic goal.
Reece James plays the ball back to Jorgensen, who tries to play out from the back, and he gets intercepted. It falls to a PSG player, and by the way as well, when he gets worked to Vitinha, the goalkeeper's off his line, and that is some dinked finish, isn't it? But once again there, Kwaku, he's taking way too much time, and my goodness me, in a game of football where you're level at 2-2, possibly looking the better team, in a game of this magnitude, at this level, mistakes like that, Louis, are just completely unacceptable.
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. This is why when people talk about keepers playing with the ball at their feet all the time and how it's a massive priority, yes, I appreciate the game is changing, but the priority for a goalkeeper is saving it.
There's also moments as well that I don't think they're clearly there. You had a PSG player coming from the left-hand side.
It's logical.
You could see ahead as well someone's being pressed. I'm with you. Playing out from the back is a part of football, but if you can see there's pressure on, there has to be a moment where you don't play out from the back and you just go long.
But this is the problem. There's this consistent need to always play out the back, always play out, always play out. Just this another problem with this Chelsea team, but also not just this Chelsea team, a lot of teams now, because there is so much pressure on playing out from the back, they make silly decisions like that all the time, and we give them the ball away again.
Igor Tudor says he's not been spending time worrying about getting sacked after Richarlison potentially saved his job with that late equaliser at Anfield.
I never think about my future, my past. I always think about training tomorrow, how to help the players. No, don't read nothing, don't watch nothing.
Well, Liverpool were booed off in that one, and Dominic Szoboszlai is now worried the team are sleepwalking towards the Conference League. Down the M62, Wayne Rooney is joining the chorus calling for Michael Carrick to get the Man United job permanently, and Alan Pardew has told talkSPORT it just makes sense.
The players obviously respect him. He's obviously getting the performances, and he's obviously getting the victories. So my view and my advice to them as a board would be keep Michael Carrick.
Following England's worst ever Six Nations campaign, the last head coach says the RFU should stick with Steve Borthwick.
They had a series of 12 wins before this, so the team was going well. To get 12 wins, in any competition in the world, and particularly at the top level, is pretty good.
Well, Eddie Jones has also told us Borthwick must choose a fly half and stay with him leading up to next year's World Cup. And Cam Norrie has replaced Jack Draper as Britain's men's tennis #1. Norrie is now 24th in the world after getting to the quarterfinals at Indian Wells.
Good morning, everybody. Monday morning, Jim White, Simon Jordan and Martin Keown. We are live on talkSPORT all the way through until 1 o'clock. So we know who's doing what now in this Premier League. Get down in the danger zone. Leeds on 32 points. Spurs 29, Forest 29, West Ham 29. Burnley and Wolves below them. 8 games to go, 3 points separates Leeds in 15th and West Ham in 18th. But who is going to drop at the end of the season? Which one of those 4, Leeds, Spurs, Forest, West Ham, who's going to go down? There's Luke, West Ham fan. Good morning, guys. I can't believe West Ham are being written off by Simon this morning, given our form. It seems against the argument of momentum being important. Nobody has more momentum than us right now, says Luke. Simon.
True. It's true, but I also think that the other teams are trying to dig in. I mean, listen, Martin's right. The biggest concern is for Tottenham because their performances have been so poor recently. But there's just a feeling in me that it's West Ham's time. I hope it's not. I don't want a London club being relegated. You know, if I wanted any of them to be relegated, it'd be Nottingham Forest, and I don't want them to be relegated either.
One of them will go. Yeah. Jim, Spurs will stay up 100%. They've got a bit about them, as they showed yesterday, says that particular message. And Luke, you're a Spurs fan. Good morning. First up, are you confident you'll avoid the drop?
Look, put it this way, guys. Before yesterday's result, I had us down to be 4 or 5 down by at least 25, 30 minutes. I thought it was going to be another Newcastle from a few seasons ago, because you've just not seen nothing to give us evidence of otherwise until yesterday. All right, Liverpool weren't great. You know, they were a little bit flat and they got their own issues. But yesterday, I think we could see certain players who are in for the fight. There's still a few players showing a little bit of petulance in their body language, but I thought, you know, your Richarlison's yesterday, he does end up on the floor a lot of the time, but he really, really works hard. You know, you could see he's up for it. You could see he's trying to put it about. Going with that formation yesterday was probably the best decision he's made since he's been there, because I think last week's decision to not put Gallagher on against Atletico Madrid was a poor choice, considering he's played there for 2 seasons, and you'd normally go with horses for courses, wouldn't you?
So the signs are, Luke, you'll get out of it.
Look, I think that result's given us the catalyst to really, really go into this Sunday's game and be good. I think if we get a good result this Sunday, Jim, against Forest, we've got to turn that place into our place. We've got to make sure that Forest come here frightened to play. The fans need to get behind those players and get the place lifted. If
here's Martin.
Luke, how easy will that be to do that, though? Because I mean, if I'm a Spurs player, it's been a nightmare playing those home games. I mean, I know it's a two-way thing. You need something to cheer about and get behind the team, but also the players need a platform, don't they, where they feel they feel welcome. Can you be sure that's going to happen?
I think, you know, the fans are loyal. We're all loyal. We've always been loyal, but at the same time, we're tired of what's going on at the club. It's not so much the players at times. You've got to take, like we've had this conversation many times, Martin. The ownership module just hasn't worked, and it's been really, really poor. But I think if the fans go there after yesterday's result, the players will probably rock up at training today or tomorrow, a bit of confidence hopefully, thinking, hold on boys, we're good. One thing I will say though, guys, let's not forget, a lot of these players went to Man City in the first couple of games of the season, turned them over. Thomas Frank's Tottenham. They don't just become bad players overnight. Confidence is a massive, massive thing.
Okay, Luke, good call, mate. Lots of good points. Thank you very much indeed. Paul's a West Ham fan. Paul, Simon thinks you guys might drop. Do you?
Hello, guys. No, I don't think we're going to drop at all. I think we've got the ball rolling, the momentum's going. We had the biggest match of the ones that we've got. When you look at the fixtures that we've got, we've probably got one of the toughest fixtures. What we had Saturday night was a tough match against a team that's fighting to be the league champions. They couldn't get it over the line against us, and we really have got it all going. Nuno's worked very hard with his team, with the players, and if you have a look at people like Mavropanos, for example,
he's been excellent, hasn't he?
He was being absolutely chastised by some of the West Ham fans earlier in the seasons, but now he's coming up to be one of the greatest central defenders in the league.
What about Disasi, by the way, in the bomb squad at Chelsea? I mean, how has he embraced the challenge? Incredible.
He has. I mean, at the end of the day, he's been given a chance at West Ham, and it sort of goes back to the times when you play players like we get Lingard on loan. We seem to get these players on loan, and they find a new lease of life in the team. And I'd love to actually sign him full time if we stay up, and I believe we will stay up.
Okay, Paul, you believe you'll stay up. You see what a draw does with Manchester City. See what a draw does for Tottenham at Anfield. And here's Spurs, I think, who feels pretty. Here's David, a Spurs fan, who feels pretty buoyed up by that. David, good morning.
Morning to you. Hi. I think that what happened yesterday is the worst thing that could have happened to Spurs.
Oh, really?
And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Basically, what that meant was that he didn't get sacked. And ultimately, it looks like, oh, wonderful, we've turned the corner. We've got 1 point against a shocking Liverpool side. And quite frankly, how we got that point, I have no idea. But they are one bad side now, Liverpool. But what I will say, now, everyone thinks, oh, wonderful, we're going to be all right because we've got a point. That point actually doesn't change a great deal. We will still go down. I am convinced we will get relegated.
Oh, but David, are you not taking the negatives out of what was a positive yesterday at Anfield for you?
No, I don't think there was a positive. Okay, so we got a point. That was the positive. We got 1 point.
Yeah.
But what if you look at it the other way? This guy Tudor now won't get sacked. If we'd have got beat yesterday, he'd have gone. But what's happened is that's papered over the cracks yet again, like it's always done at the club. Always papers over the cracks. Now it looks like last year with the Europa League. Wonderful. So all of a sudden we've got a point at Liverpool. Everything will be fine.
David, will you be at the game?
We'll get murdered against Madrid. Madrid will murder us this week. Forest will win that game, and then you'll see.
Will you be at the game, David?
Sadly, yes, because it's a real pain watch. But I can tell you now, I'll be leaving 20 minutes before the end.
Well, that's just the attitude you don't want, isn't it, if you're a player? I mean, look, that's ridiculous,
not really,
no?
Because you haven't got the pain, Martin, of having to watch what we're having to watch.
Yeah, but it's still your team, isn't it?
That, Martin. But what you've got to remember, it's not a case of that. It's very...
Come rain or shine, you'll stick with your team, don't you?
Martin,
you play your part in all of this, no, David?
By the way, Martin, we've got to renew our season ticket this month. Renew it. That'd be lovely, won't it? Looking forward to that against Reading next year.
Well, you've paid for this one. You might as well get behind the team. It seems like the fans are working against the team.
Trying to get behind the team. When the club keep doing what they're doing and consistently doing what they're doing, and the board and everything else that goes against you, it's not a question of getting behind the team. We try our best and do everything we can. But I tell you, week in and week out, same old, nothing changes, which is why, in a way, they'll get their comeuppance, go down, and it might actually do everyone a favour.
And with that, David's off to enjoy his morning. David, thanks for the call. Simon, to an extent, does he have a point? The chief exec, Vinay Venkatesham, has seemingly laid most of Tottenham's issues at the door of Daniel Levy during a meeting with the club's fan advisory board. He explained that while the club had made strong progress in areas like the stadium, training facilities, commercial growth, several areas were identified as falling short of what's required to compete at the highest level. Insufficient focus across the organisation of on-pitch success. A wage structure and player transaction approach that had impacted competitiveness in the transfer market. A men's squad requiring strengthening in terms of quality, experience and leadership. The blame game started, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, context is everything. I mean, I'll go back to that caller's call a moment ago. The irony of it is the people that deserve the least amount of support are the players. The fact that they get the most support because they're the ones on the field, because really and truly they're the ones that are letting the club down. This is not a top six side. And if anyone judged Tottenham by a top six mentality, then they can have every right to be angry with their board. But they're not a bottom five side either. That's not a bottom five squad.
No.
That's a bottom five squad because the players and management have decided to turn themselves into one. And ultimately the support, we won't support the club, we won't support the board, but we'll support the players. But they're the ones that are going out in the field and producing virtually nothing. The scenario of what this fellow is doing is, look, it's a ridiculous conversation. The majority shareholders control the football club. They might have had Daniel Levy as a very leading influence because he was running the football club on a day-to-day basis. But short of Daniel Levy having hundreds of millions of pounds, which he doesn't, where was the money coming from? Where was the disciplines coming from? Where were the commercial reality coming from? All of them are coming from the majority shareholders, who are who? The people that are now sitting in prima facie front of house activities. The same people that said they were going to spend a lot of money and change the landscape. The same people that spent nothing in the January transfer window besides what they sold Brennan Johnson for. It's a ridiculous set of conversations. It contradicts itself. On one hand, you're saying we need to spend more time focusing on field achievements. On the other hand, you say that you're breaching financial constraints and you spent too much money. I mean, make your mind up.
Well, if they are to be relegated, how would relegation shape the Levy legacy?
Well, it's not just Daniel's legacy, though, is it? It's the ownership model. If you're the majority shareholder of this football club, the Lewis family are the majority shareholder of this football club. They are the money in the room. They always have been. So they cannot exclude themselves.
But it's on Daniel as well, Simon.
Well, it'll be on all of them. But this season, this relegation this season, and the failure to either address the issues with the support for the manager at the beginning of the season, and the fact that I said to you 3-4 months ago, Thomas Frank will get the sack. And because you've now got no allies around him, you've got nobody in the boardroom that potentially supports him, you've got no sporting director, you've got a number two that was appointed as a number two running the football club in Vinay, you've got a number two as a sporting director that's now running the sporting director operations, hence the reason why you've got no player acquisition. Of course, they're all in the cart. But if you were looking at this situation now and believing that there was going to be a relegation for Tottenham Hotspur if Daniel Levy was still in control, I think you're foolish. whether you think whether they would have, you know, replicated what they did last year and finished just outside the relegation spots is a different discomfort.
Simon, what do you think at the time of this? Being I was saying this, is it best really
is
it best to get it out there now and try and build and change the culture of the football club and explain to the fans to get them on board a little bit, or should he have waited until things settled a little in the future?
But they've been doing. I mean, listen, I don't want to be drawn into a conversation defending Daniel Levy against things, but the fact of the matter is, what they're saying is just nonsense. They are the controlling influence in the football club. Whether Daniel Levy was a designated tool that was used, I don't mean tool in terms of I'm the son of a toolmaker.
But was Daniel Levy giving?
I mean in terms of the fact that he was running on a day-to-day basis, but they're the majority shareholders. If you can't buy...
But it sounds like Daniel was given carte blanche to run it any way he saw fit.
If you haven't got money, if the Tottenham Hotspur are losing money, where was the cash coming from? It was coming from the deals that Daniel did under the sanctioning of the majority shareholders. And if you wanted more money, like other football clubs have, more working capital to be able to reduce the consequences of your bank borrowing so you get higher wages or spend more money on transfers, who was going to give it to them?
But was Daniel in charge of recruitment over the last few years? Was Daniel in charge of recruitment or had a massive say in terms of recruitment over the past few years? Because that's where they've fallen short in the mind's eye of the fans.
They'd be well served to think that. But this is not this squad of players, if you look at it, is not a relegation squad of players in quality terms.
But Daniel Levy put them together. Just to bring your attention. A wage structure and player transaction approach that had impacted competitiveness in the transfer market. Okay, so they weren't paying enough wages.
Yeah, but do you understand what you're talking about? No. Because you don't understand what the wage ratio is, and you understand why they're there. Yeah, and you understand who could have affected that.
But you can't be competitive. You don't want to pay the wages. So you obviously have a pay structure, and there's certain players earning more than others.
If you want to win the league, I hear you. I'm not arguing that point. If you want to win the league, you ain't going to win the league with Tottenham Hotspur's model. But are you suggesting to me that being the 7th highest wage payers in the division and paying £200 million on transfer fees should get you relegated?
No, of course not. No. Of course not, but it's where you direct those monies, isn't it?
But again,
who you identify as the people you pin your success on.
If we believe, and it may well be the case, that Daniel Levy was the one that was selecting the players, and Daniel Levy was the one that was picking the teams, and Daniel Levy was the person that was responsible for what happened on the training field, then absolutely blame the chairman. If you want to really look at it and go, should Thomas Frank have done a better job? Should Ange Postecoglou have done a better job? Should these players be doing better jobs? But no.
But just look, the last time anybody pointed their finger, the last time anybody else pointed their point at the club, which was Conte, and you said, "Oh, get rid of him. He's a joke. He's a disgrace." Look, an internal culture requiring improvements in a number of areas. Like, are we going to listen to this, or are we going to get rid of the CEO as well?
No, what will
happen?
What I said about Conte was, if you actually want to be accurate in quoting me, because you very rarely are, is that he was a disgrace for the manner in which he had an outburst. And by the way, he took everybody down.
He was telling the truth.
He turned around and said that Harry Kane was a coward. Harry Kane was a bad leader. No, what he did was he affected no outcomes himself and blamed everybody else for it. He was there for 18 months, made nothing better.
And what's happened to the club since he left? Have they gone forward? Have they developed?
Again,
no, they've gone backwards.
The argument is difficult to make.
The blame game has certainly started at Tottenham. Wonder what Tottenham fans think of that. How would relegation shape the Levy legacy? Give me a call if you want. 03717 223344. And has it all gone flat for Slot at Liverpool? That's on the way.
Just a quick word on some of the other stuff that's been doing the rounds this week. Eddie Hearn's been making more noises, discussing the prospect of AJ. We don't even know when he's going to come back and start fighting again, taking on Tyson Fury. I mean, is this just sort of like, I don't know, barroom talk, or is there real feeling behind it? Is there some substance behind the prospect of them meeting finally?
I think there's a real thirst for it from everybody involved in being able to make that fight. I think we will be a lot further down the line, obviously, if Anthony hadn't suffered the tragedy that he suffered at the back end of last year. And that's the main thing really for me. Him getting his head in the right space to compete, competing for the right reasons, getting himself to a place of peace. I know that he's never ever going to get over what happened to him, but if he can get to a place of peace where he can get back in the ring, he can compete, and if he does want to do that again, then I think the obvious turn would be Tyson Fury. I think it would be really, really sad for this era of boxing and this era of boxing fan, and for both of these guys, because I think they'll look back in years gone after their career that they should have done it. I hope that they can get to a point where they do it, because I still think that it is the biggest fight for two British lads stepping in a British ring. Fingers crossed it happens on British soil, that we can get.
Right, final prediction before I let you go. Who sinks more pints of Guinness over the weekend? You in Dublin or Crookie this afternoon while he's watching the Gold Cup?
Oh, that's a killer, that. I think Crookie takes it all. I've been out with Crookie on a couple of occasions, mate, and he is a phenom, isn't he? He knows what he's doing when it comes to sinking pints.
Hello and welcome to talkSPORT Goals. I'm taking you through what should be another busy day of football.
Chance to win it!
We don't need to do that, guys.
I'm going to owe you an apology. How would you get to that conclusion?
That's a weak mentality.
Oh, get out of it.
Monday morning, and many of you getting involved, and that's what we love. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan, Martin Keown, and we're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. I talk about many of you getting involved. If it's not Liverpool fans, it's Spurs fans phoning in huge numbers this morning. And this is why we do it, to hear from you. We're talking about Tottenham at the moment. The chief executive, Vinay Venkatesham, seemingly laying out most of Tottenham's issues at the door of Daniel Levy during a meeting with the club's fan advisory board. Insufficient focus across the organisation on-pitch success, a wage structure and player transaction approach that had impacted the competitiveness in the transfer market. In other words, the players that are coming in are not on top wages, so they're not top players. A men's squad requiring strengthening in terms of quality, experience and leadership. All this maybe suggests as to why Tottenham have so dramatically misfired this season. And many of you calling in as a result of that. Chris, you're a big Spurs fan. What do you think of what you're hearing this morning? Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good, thanks, Chris. Good.
Good. Love your show.
Thank you.
I've been a first season ticket holder since 2019.
Yep.
And I think he's throwing Levy under the bus, but I think Daniel did a good job up at us to a certain point, but a lot of mistakes made. So I think he's right. But you know, it's a big responsibility for him now to do something with it.
Yeah, yeah. So you think some of the points are made fairly by Vinay, but at the same time, you applaud Levy for the job he's done?
Absolutely. He got us to a point, but it was time for him to go. And frankly, after 2 years of this mess, girls coming home to roost, so to speak.
Right.
You know, it's
right.
It's not shocking to anybody.
Chris, sorry, Chris, to interact. Would it not have been better just to leave Daniel Levy in situ to the end of the season and say, okay, see out? Because, I mean, he went a bit unceremoniously, didn't he? Just booted out of the football club, been there many years. He'd done a lot of good there, but obviously not on the pitch in terms of the trophies they wanted. This unrest has destabilised the football club, no?
Well, you know, frankly, I don't think so. And I don't think you find any fans, in my opinion anyway, I don't think you find many fans that would agree with that. The fans were behind the team at the Palace game, by the way, in the first half of the game, until, you know, towards the end. And I'm going to be straight. I left at halftime. I've never done that before, but I had it. I'm tired of paying A+ money for C product on the pitch. All right. And so I think leaving him there wouldn't have changed anything. He might have gotten rid of Tudor earlier, maybe, but that's all speculation right now.
Chris, very briefly, does yesterday's point at Anfield give you hope?
Yes, I do. But yes, it does. I was glad to see their second half effort. But if we don't beat Forest and Leeds, we don't have a chance.
Okay, Chris, thanks for that.
Games, I don't think we have a chance.
Woody, I'll put the same to you as we approach 11 o'clock. Yesterday's point at Anfield, does it give you hope, Woody?
It does give us hope, Jim. Hello, fellas. How you doing?
Good morning, mate.
I really. Been quite positive, mate. I think it seems to go under the radar. Sort of 13 players out injured yesterday. We've gone to Anfield, and we've shown fight for the first time I've seen for months, to be honest with you. And we need to sort of take that as a positive. I think next week, Change for Tottenham are doing a sort of like a welcoming sort of party for the players to come into the stadium to sort of try and lift their spirits and their moods. I think if the Spurs fans go online, they can see that. That's going to go ahead before the game. We're going to be right behind them, Jim. And to be honest, to go there to get a point yesterday, you know, turn up next week, get a result if we can, and then we've got 3 weeks, and then we can go again, you know. So
there you go. Yeah. Come on, Woody. There you go.
Positivity, boys. But unfortunately, Arsenal are going to win the league, so I'm going to move to Australia.
Excellent. Woody, thank you very much indeed for your call. Thanks to all the Spurs fans calling in. And of course, we're going to talk about Arsenal. We're going to talk almost inevitably about 16-year-old Max Dman as well. And we will talk Liverpool very shortly. It's all gone flat for Arne Slot. That and a whole lot more after 11.
In the past 10 years, on only one occasion has a side been on fewer points than Arsenal at this stage of the season. Leicester City, 63 points at this stage. Arsenal leading the Premier League on 67. Liverpool were also on 67 in 23-24, and they went on and finished third that year. I mean, does the fact that they have got that 7-point gap right now over Manchester City give them a little bit more insulation? Because Leicester didn't have that, did they?
No, they didn't. It was. I mean, you can't compare those. You can't compare the seasons. That was just
crazy.
It was.
Yeah,
it was.
I still can't even believe that it happened now. Really,
I find it's fascinating how much stick Arsenal are getting for the style and the set plays and trying to compare previous winners.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, but it does.
It doesn't
obviously
matter
does.
to them.
It obviously yeah, it doesn't to them, but it obviously does to so many people.
But that's just because people don't want Arsenal to win it. That's got nothing to do with the fact that they really care
also,
about the style.
are we really looking across the other teams and going, wow, what a team?
No, there's not.
Oh,
another
they're
team
so good to
standing up
watch.
and going,
no,
I would prefer them to be.
No,
champions.
I would say the league as a whole this season has been
Average.
Yes. Yeah, and you can see it's evolving. The stats will tell you it's evolving, especially in an athletic way for these teams. It's much more competitive than it's ever been before. It's not about how you do it; it's about whether you do it.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan van range. Scoring a winning hat-trick of performance, payload and price. Search Nissan vans or head to your local Nissan van centre.
With your headlines at 2 minutes past 11, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good morning. Dominic Szoboszlai is warning Liverpool to wake up if they don't want to end up in next season's Conference League. Liverpool were booed off at Anfield after Spurs' late equaliser. Here's Liverpool.com's Matt Addison.
They're just not playing very exciting football at the moment. They're not playing a game that you think you can sort of get behind as a supporter, and I think that is as much of a problem as the results, really. There is still a decent chance that Liverpool get in the Champions League play.
Igor Tudor, meanwhile, won't talk about his Spurs' future, but he will take the Atletico Madrid game live on talkSPORT 2 on Wednesday.
If we're going to slaughter the manager for the last 4 games, you have to give him credit for changing the formation, to change the way they played, to adapt into the circumstances to get an outcome at Liverpool.
Now, Jude Bellingham and Kylian Mbappe are fit again for Real Madrid. 3-0 up in the Champions League last 16 tie. Real go to Man City tomorrow. Sunderland's Dan Ballard is in Northern Ireland squad for their World Cup playoff against Italy. That's despite an injury scare. Meanwhile, ahead of Thomas Tuchel's England announcement on Friday, are people getting carried away about Max Dowman?
Only great players can do that. Johan Cruyff could do that. George Best could do that. Messi can obviously do that.
Sports Alan Pardew there. Here's Dowman's under-11s Arsenal coach Temmerson Williams.
He's not yet even started his career, and you're comparing him to those who are legends of the game. Let's wait until 20, 25 years, God willing, he has a successful career, and then maybe we can look at the comparisons.
And after England's worst ever Six Nations, Eddie Jones is telling the RFU to stick with head coach Steve Borthwick.
They had a series of 12 wins before this, so the team was going well. To get 12 wins, in any competition in the world, and particularly at the top level, is pretty good.
More at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
Sir Keir Starmer's announced financial support for those exposed to rising oil prices. Meanwhile, petrol stations will be required to publish live costs. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit, your go-to destination for quality tyres from great brands like Continental. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
Cloudy and breezy for most of us, rain moving eastward, the far south though staying largely dry, average temperatures turning warmer through the week.
Hello and welcome to talkSPORT Goals. Been taking you through what should be another busy day of football.
Chance to win it!
We don't need to do that, guys.
I'm going to owe you an apology.
How do you get to that conclusion? That's a weak mentality.
Oh, get out of it.
Good morning, everybody. It is Monday morning, just gone 11 o'clock, 11:05. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan, Martin Keown. We are live in talkSPORT, live on your TV as well. And you know the usual places you can find us: Samsung, LG, Fire TV, even Prime Video. Wherever you want to watch the show, you can do it on those various channels. A lot to get through between now and 1 o'clock. The Six Nations, wow, what a weekend that was. Scotland came up short in Ireland, but England almost did it in Paris. But the French got there just in the end. Did the Six Nations deliver on all fronts? And what about Arne Slot in Liverpool? 1-1 with Tottenham, beleaguered Tottenham yesterday at Anfield. Has it all gone bizarrely flat for Arne Slot? Going to get to that very shortly. What did we see at Stamford Bridge before kick-off on Saturday evening when Chelsea took on Newcastle United. What was more ridiculous? The Chelsea players' huddle or referee Paul Tierney making himself the main character of it? Chelsea have begun performing a pre-match huddle, but doing it in the centre circle of all places. It's drawn boos by opposition fans in recent weeks, with the start of games being somewhat slowed down. And Chelsea opted to do the same huddle before the Newcastle game on Saturday evening. But Paul Tierney, strangely, was right in the middle of it and didn't make any attempt to get out of it. So they had their huddle, and Tierney, bizarrely, was part of it. After the game, Liam Rosenior said, "No, this was by no means disrespectful by my boys."
My players made a decision that they wanted to be around the ball, to respect the ball, and show unity and leadership. That is not my decision. That was a decision between the leadership group and the team. There is nothing that they're doing with that huddle that is disrespectful to the opposition. And do you know what's amazing? Before the game, it wasn't me. We had a meeting with the referee. My assistant goes in. The first thing he talks about is our huddle. And he says about when I complained about Arsenal being in our half. It wasn't the goalkeeper coach that was in our half, and people who were at that game at Arsenal know why I said what I said. We're not being disrespectful to the opposition. If Paul had focused more on his job, which was to make the right decision, we have a penalty today.
So Liam Rosenior chose that moment to have a swipe at Paul Tierney. Martin, have you ever seen anything like this? A huddle to respect the ball, which on Saturday evening included the referee in the middle of it.
No, not really. I mean, you can. Why have a huddle where you have right on top of the ball? What happens if the opponent's trying to take a kickoff in that situation? It's just like, do it somewhere else. You've got 75 metres in your own half to do a huddle. So why are you doing it on top of the referee? It just was farcical.
It was ludicrous,
I'm
wasn't
not sure why the referee didn't step out of it, by the way, and just ask to be removed from the situation. There might be something I want to say in the huddle that would affect the referee. But for me, it just looks like it's for effect. It's like, I mean, what can't you say in the dressing room and to one another that you have to say in that huddle? So it's very visual. And for me, I think it's a sideshow. And of course, okay, Liam's right. He wants the referee to make the right decisions, and maybe there was a penalty, a suggestion that there might have been a penalty, but that, you know, sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. What he needs to do is now concentrate on winning games of football, and they keep throwing things away, certainly at Stamford Bridge.
What's going on, Simon? I mean, it was ludicrous to say the least. Have players become too performative?
Well, he just described it, I think, absolutely right. It is all performative. I mean, the idea that you can't say something to one another in the dressing room and haven't already patted one another on the back and exchanged your views about what you're going to do, and you need to do that in full glare of the media, is performative. It is exactly that. It's suggesting, and most of the time, these huddles, we certainly didn't produce the outcome, did they? Because they lost the game. And so many times in the past, you look at it and think it's a galvanisation. We're seeing they've done all that in the dressing room. So yes, of course, it's performative. Well, the referee didn't step out. Maybe he felt he was ceding authority. Maybe he thought that ultimately the player shouldn't be doing that in the first place. He'd already mentioned before the game, that clearly to Liam, that he didn't like the idea that they were going to do this, and perhaps him being in the space first was, if he stepped out of that, was ceding authority to the players and setting the wrong tone for the game. Maybe that was his thinking. I can't explain the thinking behind what Liam had said. Maybe he was conflating the lack of disrespect that people are suggesting the gesture does with some far-fangled idea that they were respecting the ball like some mythical object that needs to be worshipped.
Do you know what we should be talking about is really how easy it was for Newcastle to score the goal that they scored, Jim. If we turn it around to football, you know, 2 passes. It's a knife through butter, isn't it? But these sort of sideshows that Liam seems to create, do you know, like the Arsenal game where, you know, okay, I'm an incredible tactician, and watch this, by the way, I will put these players on at a given time.
I know the pre-match huddle for years.
I don't remember Pep saying this. I don't remember Pep saying all these things and Mourinho saying all these things, giving stuff away and directing the journalists or the pundits to this incredible
Pep just runs up to the opposition's players and tells them certain things after the game, doesn't he? They all have their foibles and peculiarities, and I understand why we'll go after Liam for some of the things.
Well, I think he's a good manager. I think he's a good manager. I think he probably needs to say less.
I think he may well be a good manager. I think the difficulty is that it's very difficult for these managers to say less, because they're sat on press conferences where they're not allowed to say less because it's part and parcel of their jobs. And of course, Liam's going to be conscious, however much he'll turn around and say he's not, he's going to be conscious of the idea, the fact that most people in the world think he's not entitled to this job. And so when you're in that space where you're proving yourself, maybe you say too much, and maybe he'll mature and say a little bit less. Maybe he'll stop trying to prove to people that he's clever and worthy of this job and produce a team that shows he's clever and worthy of this job.
Well, the press officer needs to get him the hell out of there, doesn't he? When there's questions. If you look at the other managers, it's all like, right, one more question, two more questions, right, we're out, bang, go.
Yeah, well, I don't approve of that, obviously. His record at Chelsea, 17 games, 10 wins, 2 draws, 5 defeats. The 5 defeats, Newcastle, PSG and Arsenal times 3. The wins, since Liam went there, Wrexham, Villa, Hull, Wolves, West Ham, Napoli, Palace, Paphos, Brentford and Charlton. So this huddle, do these headlines about the huddle, Simon, come as a welcome distraction for Chelsea's stumbles?
Well, only if the journalists allow them to focus on those sort of things. But the fact is that he hasn't, as yet, won any games. Besides the Napoli game away from home, and of course Conte will be telling us this because of the lack of investment in this team, it was inevitable, it's coming anyway. But ultimately, he hasn't really won any games that you wouldn't have expected at Chelsea. Now, they were very unlucky against PSG. They imploded. And it was ironically one of the senior players that gave the ball away in Reece James that created the third goal.
Yeah.
That then allowed PSG to springboard off it. Prior to that, Chelsea were looking like a very good value for being in this game and potentially the team that would go on and win it. But to go to your question, the central theme, is he winning anything that on paper perhaps he shouldn't be? No. So I noticed in the brief that...
You see, that question is absolutely up your street. And the question would be this: is Rossini's Chelsea like Southgate's England? They beat who they should beat, but when they come up against decent opponents, there's a falling short element.
Well, look, first and foremost, are you really expecting them? Do we really? I never expected England to win against certain teams, because if certain teams are the best in their class, it's no big shame for England to lose these games. Arsenal are the best team in the league. So losing to Arsenal 3 times, albeit you can say, well, maybe you learn some lessons, you maybe get a different outcome. But the fact that you lost to Arsenal 3 times is no great shame, because they're the team that's on top of the league. They've won the European competition in terms of winning the table to qualify for the Champions League. They're going great guns in every competition.
Yeah.
There's no shame losing to Arsenal. Losing away to PSG, well, they're the European Cup holders, so losing away to PSG has its own conversation.
How about beating Newcastle?
Losing at home to Newcastle is the challenge.
Right. Jim, the way we need to look is the drawing at home against Leeds.
Yeah.
You know, if you're ahead in games, and against Burnley, they were own goals. Do you know, so something happened in those games. He's tried to put that right. Yes, of course, all the other games, Jim, you're playing against PSG, that can happen. It was the reverse of the Spurs game, wasn't it? The last 3 goals they conceded is a disaster.
Yeah.
It'll be very interesting to see how Chelsea react in that one against PSG.
Let's hear how Jason has reacted to what we're talking about. Chelsea fan Jason, you've just called in, I think, on the huddle. Is that right, Jason?
Yeah, I just wanted to see what Martin's point is, because I don't really agree with the huddle on the halfway line, granted. However, he pointed out, and rightly so maybe, that what can be said in the huddle that can't be said in the changing room. So I just wanted to ask, are Chelsea the only team that huddle on the pitch?
Well, certainly their only team so far have included the ref in the huddle.
No, but I'm saying, Martin pointed out what can't be said.
So you're asking me to... I haven't got the statistics and analysis on huddles. Again, it's a sideshow, isn't it? I don't really... I didn't do it. I didn't do it in my career. Everything was said in the dressing room. You didn't even have a huddle in the dressing room, but you're obviously very close proximity to each people.
What I'm saying is, you asked whether or not so my point is, I'm not asking for statistics and ratios. I'm saying, have you never seen any other team do it then on the
not over with the referee in the middle of the...
I've been asked that. I said on the pitch.
Yeah, but I understand where you're trying to lead this, but I think Martin's point is not about whether Chelsea are doing it; it's whether people are doing it per se. He will be against it across the board, right?
I'm not a fan of it. I don't think it's necessary. I think it's sometimes for that United look. And why do they need to feel that they need to do that?
Yeah, so you'll say that on every other team that do it. Is that?
Yeah. I'm not picking on Chelsea, but why are Chelsea doing it on the halfway line? Why are they doing it around the ball? You can do it. You've got 75 metres in your half of the pitch. Yeah. They're worrying about warm-ups against Arsenal. Do the huddle in your own penalty box.
Yeah, I said to you, I think it's silly doing it on the halfway line, but it's been pointed out that it was Rossini's idea, and he's categorically said that it wasn't his idea, it was a team decision. So I don't know.
They've been doing it since he's been there. No?
Jason, do you think it's a good distraction at the moment, and it suits Liam?
Not really, because as Simon pointed out, the teams that you beat, probably lost to, are the ones that you would probably expect as well.
Right.
So you don't think that you think they're okay to draw with Burnley at home and okay to draw with Leeds at home?
Do you think it's okay to draw with Wolves?
Yeah, I'm just asking about Chelsea.
No, I don't. But I'm just asking you the question. Teams draw.
Yeah, but these are home games. But do you feel that is no?
You're the best team in Europe at the moment, aren't you?
No, not yet. Not yet. No, we're almost halfway through the season, fella.
Yeah, but no, let's go back to your statistics. Statistically, you're top of the European bit, wasn't you? And you're top of the
Now
Premier
it's a
League,
knockout
so
competition, yes. We played 8
But
games,
I'm
we
on
played
about-
7 to
I'm
win
on
it now.
about
It changes,
before
the
that.
competition changes now to a cup competition from a league competition. Yeah, Champions League.
Yes, but
We're in the final of the League
so
Cup,
at the
obviously, as
moment,
well.
Who's a better team than you and then Arsenal at the moment in Europe?
Probably, I
Would you
think,
say?
looking at the results of the day, I think Bayern and PSG look ahead of them.
You really? Well, okay. I think you're just cutting your losses on that. I don't think.
Well, do you think? Well, you had a
but I
close
don't
look at
think you should be
PSG.
throwing the wall.
You should be able to tell me, having lost 5-2 to
They're
PSG.
PSG are all right, Jason, aren't they?
Listen, they're European champions,
Yeah.
and as it's been
For a
stated
reason.
by Simon, they time it well. They were
Yeah.
terrible last year, leading up to it, just about qualified, and then went on to make everyone else look
Yeah.
silly.
Well, Jason, just
going
before you
all the
leave
way.
us, do you hope your boys carry on respecting the ball in the fashion that they did on Saturday evening?
Not really. No, I think it's stupid, and I stated that from the beginning. But I just don't. It just seems that the emphasis is on going about the huddle and everything. But Martin's acting, and if I'm wrong, I apologise. But you're acting like we're the only team that huddle on the pitch.
You're the only one who do it. You're only the one who do it on the halfway line, don't you?
Jason, thanks for the call, but I'm with you though, Martin. Have the huddle by all means. Just don't include the ref and don't have it in the centre circle.
Crazy.
It's Jim White, Simon Jordan, and Martin Keown live in talkSPORT. Liverpool slot. What's happening?
Isn't it strange that we get 6 sides that every single English side went through? Newcastle were the only side that had to qualify via the playoff system.
Yeah.
But not one English side in the Premier League. And we like to think that we are. And I think there is a bit of arrogance. I do subscribe to that point of view. But is there something in the fact that maybe the Premier League is so demanding? So, for example, right, PSG this weekend have had their game cancelled to play Chelsea so that they have the rest between that they played last night and the next time they're going to play is against Chelsea on Tuesday. Look, I don't see us turning it around at all, but we play Newcastle on Saturday. The league is demanding, or is that me just kind of making excuses for the Premier League?
No. Do you know what? Also, you got to look at this. So I understand what you're saying. You're not making excuses for the Premier League, but the Premier League might need to start working with the football clubs.
How's that going to work?
League. Well, Liga 1 done it. They moved games, cancelled the game to fit it into the PSG schedule to make it easier on the players.
Yeah, but here's the problem.
They want to retain the Champions League.
Yes.
It's a prestige trophy.
Of course.
So if your league has got that, so a team from your league has got the Champions League, it just makes you more prestige.
Here's the issue that's going to happen. Here's the problem, is that there have been examples of managers complaining, and I think some unfairly at times, about playing on a Wednesday and then playing on a Saturday 12:30 kickoff. Klopp famously done it at a fallout with one of the reporters. But you cannot show favouritism in England.
Hello and welcome to talkSPORT Goals. We're taking you through what should be another busy day of football.
Chance to win it!
We don't need to do that, guys.
I'm going to owe you an apology.
How would you get to that conclusion? That's a weak mentality.
Oh, get out of it.
It's Jim White, Simon Jordan, Martin Keown. We're live on talkSPORT Selco where the trade goes. Simon, it's amazing the number of calls that come on and then immediately want to joust with our Arsenal invincible pal, Mr. Keown. And you're jousting well, Martin, this Monday morning.
It's just healthy debate, isn't it?
It's healthy debate.
I personally, sometimes you'd feel like a seal on the pitch if the manager or someone's telling me how I've got to behave. You know, I'm focused. I want to play the game. I was quite an intense character anyway on the pitch, as you know.
Okay.
So I suddenly I've got to go into a huddle. I've got to run back to my position. I'm not sure it's really necessary.
Yeah, I'm not sure what a huddle would be like with you in it. But anyway, that's just by the by. What did we see from Liverpool yesterday? Liverpool drew with Tottenham at Anfield. And now big questions being asked this morning, not for the first time, about Liverpool, about Arne Slot. So how poor were Liverpool? And has it now all gone bizarrely flat for Arne Slot? Here is the man himself.
Yeah, of course it's damaging, but it's how many times this has been damaging for us. We don't help ourselves at all. It's so many of times this season that we've created much more XG or chances than the amount of goals we score. And usually in the Premier League, you see a lot of teams outperforming their XG, but that definitely not what we are doing throughout the whole season. And then a game still stays tight till the end. And we struggle to keep clean sheets. We haven't had as many clean sheets as you would want if you want to go higher up in the table. And that's a bad combination for picking up the amount of points we want to pick up.
Martin Szoboszlai post-match, we have to waken up because if we carry on like this, we should be happy with the Conference League. I don't know why this is happening. I honestly don't know. I didn't hear boos, but we can understand them. We are not performing how we should. Where's he going with it all? I mean, there's general bafflement. I noticed Szoboszlai a few times just said, I just don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah,
I just don't get it.
Suggestions they're sort of sleepwalking out of the Champions League. I mean, that's where there's the concern at the moment. I felt maybe yesterday perhaps, I know you've got to make these changes, Jim, haven't you? But, you know, you've got to finish the job off and maybe people could have started that game and then came off. Konate not starting, Kirkez, there's no debate. Robertson is who's best. I thought Robertson should have attacked that ball much better at the end of the game. They were just doing enough. Galatasaray looks like it's more important on the horizon. You can't pick and choose. That game's coming up now. It can still be, Jim, a good end to the season for Liverpool. They're still in the Champions League, still in the FA Cup, huge game against Man City. It's all there for them, but it don't seem to be at boiling point. I'm not happy with what's the name, Szoboszlai playing right back. You know what a great talent he is. But no, I don't think there's something wrong with the balance, Jim, and they're just doing enough. Whether some players are coming to the end of their time now at Liverpool, and all of the Isak not settling, still really haven't seen him. But as I say, I still look at them as a danger, Liverpool. If they get their act together, if they could just, and you think they've turned the corner, and every time you think that, there's another bad result, and that was certainly was a bad result for them yesterday, falling out of that.
I mean, Martin, why wouldn't they be? You used the phrase. Why wouldn't they be at boiling point at this precise time in the season? Is it tactical? Is it mentality? What is it?
You look at them fatigue. What are they on now in terms of number of games? It's like, 44 games already. Man United can only play 40 between now and the end of the season. What are they on, 33 matches or something? So is obviously the congestion of fixtures, whether people are now still at the level. There's a great game, you know, the Galatasaray game now is one they've got to win. They're behind in the tie, which surprised me as well. I thought they'd go there and have enough. And Osimhen gave their two central defenders another torrid time. So that area looks like it needs some work on it, Jim. They didn't get Gahey in the transfer window, and that was maybe a problem for them. No, I just feel it's just mentality at the moment for Liverpool. They win the title. I know it's a long time. You know, they celebrated a lot to win that, but they don't seem to have clicked back into the mode with Slot this time round, and he's under pressure.
Simon, an enormous number of Liverpool fans want their say. I'm going to go to one now. Tony, you've been waiting patiently. Tony, good morning. Why has it gone flat for Slot, Tony?
The man's deluded. He needs to go on it, and here's why. I mean, yesterday's game's an example of that. If he thinks we've got a chance of winning that Champions League with that team at the minute, the man's deluded. So, you know, you can ride your luck one game, but not four. Now, just rest Ekitike and Konate when the most important thing for us is getting that Champions League is insane for me. So that's one. Number two is he took Rio off, who was our best player. What's he taking him off for? He's not going to play. He's not going to start him on Wednesday. Another one, Frimpong, we bought as a right back. Why is he putting our best midfielder at right back when he's got a right back fit? He puts him on the wing. So there's a few points there. The man's deluded. Now, to save this season for me, we've got to get him out now. Get Gerrard or Alonso in for the minute and try and get in this Champions League, because at the minute, I don't think the players are playing for him. Tactically, I don't know what he's doing. And the recruitment's been wrong as well.
I mean, Tony, when you look at it, honestly, mate, that's not going to happen, is it? They are not going to get rid of Arne Slot at this precise time, are they?
You just don't know. But if I was the owner...
And for Steven Gerrard?
Well, Alonso and Gerrard know the club, you know what's important. For me, he got lucky last season. Arsenal lost Saka, Chelsea, City weren't at it. He got lucky in the first season to win that league. The first 5 games of this season, we were poor and we won every game. We could have lost them all. The recruitment's been wrong as well. We needed the number 6 before anything else. And, Gravenberg done all right, but he's not a number 6. The fact he haven't brought a number 6 in is going to cost us big time this season.
OK, Tony, many points. Matthew, in the time we've got left, just before 11:30, go for it. I mean, what is wrong with it? Is it Slot? Is it tactics? Is it his style of play? What is it?
Oh, it's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace. To be 21 points behind Arsenal, shocking. Touching on to what the guys just said there, Sober's like playing right back. I mean, what is that all about, seriously? But you don't know what you're going to get. And the biggest problem I have with Liverpool now with that manager is they're boring to watch. That is the biggest problem. They're sending you to sleep. It's a disgrace. I've never known in my life a team of champions, not just in football, but across multiple sports, have so many changes.
Are you concerned about Wednesday, Matthew, about Galatasaray?
Well, this is what I'll say about Wednesday. Liverpool, as it stands, have got to score 2. Liverpool don't keep clean sheets. Osimhen caused murder for us against our centre halves. They will score at Anfield. So Liverpool got to score 3. I don't think Liverpool will go through on Wednesday, honestly, and I don't think they'll finish in the top 4 or 5, whatever it is. You look at Liverpool's remaining 8 games, Jim.
Yeah.
You look at Liverpool's remaining 8 games. All 8 teams Liverpool have got to play are fighting for a European football. Liverpool have got to go to Villa, Man United, Everton, and Brighton. And the home games, you've got Chelsea, Fulham, Crystal Palace, and Brentford. All of them are fighting for 8.
Wow.
You can't say around and say right now.
Yeah.
Look at them 4 away games.
You just don't know what you're going to get with them, Simon, as Matthew's saying. And he's saying loud and clear, Galatasaray will score at Anfield on Wednesday, and therein lies the problem for Liverpool.
We'll see. I mean, look, if you look at a manager, when a manager talks about XGs in a game, because most of them think XG is a load of old nonsense as a concept. When they start talking about that as a principle of the reasons why they should have scored more goals, they realise that they're struggling. The Salah situation was never really circled and squared in terms of what happened in the dressing room to suggest that a player felt he could speak the way he did. Seems to have just been brought back into the fold. Is a shadow of himself. There's no dispensation now for Slot about what was last year's performances. The team are struggling on the field, and clearly not anywhere near where they were before. You've also got a factor in the nuance. They bought Isak. That's turned to be a disaster because it was protracted and now he's injured. You had the tragedy of Jota. Lucas Diaz, I think, was a key component of the Liverpool side and where they wanted to go because he couldn't get the deal he wanted at Liverpool. And Darwin Núñez was long overdue going. So you've had to rebuild. And of course, the rebuild hasn't worked out the way people anticipated it when he's getting no latitude for it. Yeah. And it may well be because Liverpool fans have been indulged with a fabulous brand of football from Klopp and a sort of more sophisticated extension of it by Slot.
Was Klopp more in the tradition of the club, though? The expectations of the fans,
yeah, maybe
yesterday just wasn't quite there.
Yeah, their tradition's got them one Premier League in 30 years, isn't it? But the fact is that notwithstanding that, Klopp did provide a brand of football that I particularly admired. I would rather watch Klopp than any other team, any other manager. Yeah.
Having said all that, if they can somehow manage a way through on Wednesday night, then it's really getting interesting in the business end of the Champions League. It's 11:30.
if you're taking out form right now, it has to be Harvey Barnes.
Yeah.
I mean, every time he steps on the pitch, I don't think he's going to score. He's so powerful and so quick. When he runs, it's almost like, oh my goodness, you're not catching him.
Yeah.
And that's where Thomas Tuchel, because I mentioned Barnes, Gordon, Rashford, Foden. You then got Palmer. I'm talking about attacking 10 attacking options.
Yeah.
You got Palmer, Saka, Madueke, Bowen, Bellingham can play 10. Rodgers can play left.
Yeah.
I mean, there are going to be some big names on that list that don't go.
Yeah, but annoyingly, out of all of those players, none of them are really smashing it at the moment. Rodgers maybe is doing pretty well. Bellingham's been out injured.
Yeah.
Nothing from Foden.
No,
Cole Palmer's gone a little bit cold.
Yeah. Saka's not, obviously the numbers haven't been there. Madueke's in and out. But
isn't that bizarre? If we were doing this World Cup a year ago, we'd be buzzing with those players.
But and as I said, Barnesy.
Barnesy, giving the old John Barnesy Barnesy.
Yeah, Harvey Barnes. He's right now he's probably in the best form out of all of them.
On the left-hand side, Rashford was on the bench last night, right?
Yeah.
Who starts for England on the left for you out of those two, Rashford and...
Oh, Rashford would be first, because Rashford for England's been good.
He does?
Yeah.
Does that matter? It's a good point you make. Does that matter? If you're really good for England, but you're not doing it at club level, and some players are like that...
Danny Welbeck was a prime example of that.
Okay. Does your league form matter too much when the manager knows when you put the English shirt on, you perform?
Yeah, I think for certain players, I think it does matter. Because, again, a prime example is the last Euros, not the one in Germany, the one before that, sorry.
Yeah.
Where we was all saying Sterling can't go, his form wasn't there, and he was our best player.
That's a great point.
But you know what Sterling's going to get experience, you know exactly that when it's the highest, he can step up.
Tudor says he's not been spending time worrying about getting sacked after Richarlison potentially saved his job with that late equaliser at Anfield.
I never think about my future, my past. I always think about training tomorrow, how to help the players. No, don't read nothing, don't watch nothing.
Well, Liverpool were booed off in that one, and Dominic Szoboszlai is now worried the team are sleepwalking towards the Conference League. Down the M62, Wayne Rooney has joined the chorus calling for Michael Carrick to get the Man United job permanently, and Alan Pardew has told talkSPORT it just makes sense.
The players obviously respect him. He's obviously getting the performances and he's obviously getting the victories. So my view and my advice to them as a board would be keep Michael Carrick.
Following England's worst ever Six Nations campaign, the last head coach says the RFU should stick with Steve Borthwick.
They had a series of 12 wins before this, so the team was going well. To get 12 wins, in any competition in the world, and particularly at the top level, is pretty good.
Well, Eddie Jones has also told us Borthwick must choose a fly half and stay with him leading up to next year's World Cup. And Cam Norrie has replaced Jack Draper as Britain's men's tennis #1. Norrie is now 24th in the world after getting to the quarterfinals at Indian Wells.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. We're ready for the action. Are you? Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+. GambleAware.org.
Now Simon's just ruining the office furniture in here this morning. We're joined by Matt Gibson from BetMGM, and we're going to look at some of the top sporting events, the odds around and about them. Mr. Gibson, good morning. Describe the top half of the Premier League as you see it this morning.
Yeah, good morning, fellas. Pretty much done from a title point of view, lads. From a betting angle, Arsenal as short as 1-10. Manchester City drifted all the way to 6-1 as a result of the weekend's action. I know much has been talked about Max Dman and his goal. His cross for the crucial goal was absolutely superb, wasn't it? In behind the front runners, Manchester United, great win against Villa. Liverpool and Chelsea, very much disappointing. The battle for the top five, gents, it kind of feels like no one really wants to take up the mantle here. We spoke with Mano Petitjim, I think it was 2 weeks ago. He was very concerned about Villa. Those concerns have rang true. Villa 3 on the bounce, losing 3 on the bounce. Liverpool, despite a kind of average performance yesterday, they are the form team out of positions 4, 5 and 6. They've won 3 of the last 6. And Chelsea really struggling. Martin, I'd be interested to get your take on Wesley Fofana's centre-half performance as he allowed Gordon to sort of jog past him and didn't really make much effort to get back in there. But it kind of feels like none of those teams have really sort of taken it by the scruff of the neck and owning that number 4 position, really, lads.
Yeah, I mean, do you know, if one of those teams wakes up and they're going to need to, I mean, Villa, I think, is 2 wins in 10. Which is quite remarkable.
Yeah, this time of the season.
Yeah, but they're still there.
Yeah.
So, you know, like the games are there for Villa to wake up and then take those opportunities. Of course, they play West Ham next.
Do you think he's prioritising the Europa League, Martin, to secure that Champions League next year? Do you think winning the Europa League is a better play here?
No, I don't. I mean, look, you know, his record in Europe is quite outstanding, isn't it? You know, he's a great manager. I think it's just the fact that they've lost Tielemans and Kamara in that midfield. McGinn's back, which is good news, but he obviously needs games to get back to the level. And they've got a shopping list of football matches, and that's you know, playing its part. I mean, that's Manchester United. Have you seen how they've just like stormed into that position with 1 game a week, pretty well? When Manchester United have had a midweek game, by the way, they've had 2 draws. It's just interesting to see. I'm not taking anything away from Man United because what they've done is remarkable with this new manager. Just they've changed their system.
What about what Matt mentioned there about the Newcastle goal? Was it Fofana who seemed to jog back?
Well, you can't vacate midfield in that way. Obviously, Liam will recognise that. 2 passes, but Fofana then should never give it up. He doesn't run back. Yeah. And that's like the instinct for a defender has to be to get back. And that we don't see that often enough and he's not progressing. He's not going to the next level. Defensively, there's a problem for Chelsea.
Yeah. You won't be taking any more bets on Arsenal, or are you?
I mean, the market's still there, Jim, but at 1-10, you really need to have a good thrash to get anything back. So we kind of think that's done. There's more value, I'd say.
Are you paying out, Matt?
Top 5 market.
Matt, are you paying out then?
We're not paying out just yet, Martin.
Well, no, look, because let's just have a look at it then. So it's 9 points. It becomes 6 if they win their game in hand, and if they beat Arsenal at home, it becomes 3 points. So it's hardly finished, is it?
I mean, 1-10 says it is finished, but you're quite right, Martin. We've not paid out just yet.
There you go.
I would think, Martin, if they win, particularly if they win the cup final, if Arsenal win the cup final on Sunday, I think that sends a massive message to Man City, and they'll probably go to the Etihad and win the game. But super short from where we were 2 or 3 weeks ago. Arsenal have just shortened right up.
Okay, what about the bottom half of the league? We'll get to Carabao Cup as we go on, of course. Arsenal, Manchester City on Sunday. The bottom half of the Premier League, Matt. Are you boys out of it? Not quite.
It's all a wee bit close for comfort, Jim, to be honest with you. Draws for everyone who's in that sort of 3rd relegation spot contention. So it's kind of as you were, isn't it? I'd definitely file West Ham's draw under a point gained. I can say the same for Spurs against Liverpool. Our game was weird, wasn't it? Missing a penalty, you always think, oh, that's a harsh one, but 10 men for most of the game. I don't know if it's a point gained or 2 dropped. I'm not sure. I don't know if you've seen the second yellow, the red card. Thought it was a wee bit soft, but yeah, I thought it was a bit soft on Gummerson, but it's super tight, lads, at the bottom. Leeds, again, 2 or 3 weeks ago, Leeds were as big as 14-1 to go down. They're now into 5-1. Forest shorter at 9-4. Spurs even shorter than that at 2-1. You've obviously got You've obviously got Spurs playing against Forest this weekend, but we play Brentford under the lights on Saturday night at Ellen Road. I know Brentford are a great side, having a great season, but that's got to be one that you target. The gap in there is so small, fellas. It just needs a good game week for your rivals and a bad game week for you, and you are right in there.
Leeds do play, don't they? Wolves, Burnley, and West Ham,
and Spurs.
And Spurs. So it's in their hands, no?
It is. Wolves, Burnley, Brentford at home, West Ham away, last game of the season. Spurs, I think, 2 weeks before in May. So they do play the rivals in and around them. So I guess it is in their hands. But as big as 14s 2 or 3 weeks ago, now right into 5s makes me panic a little bit.
Matt, where are your punters taking you? Is there any kind of trend at the moment? Are you seeing money go towards one particular club to go down with Burnley and Wolves?
Yeah, I mean, West Ham have kind of always, well, I say always, certainly for this year, West Ham have always been that third team behind Burnley and Wolves. Listen, Burnley and Wolves 1 to 100, 1 to 40 to go down. West Ham have always been that third team in the betting. They're a little bit bigger than they were. I think West Ham got to odds on. I think they got to about 5 to 6. Yeah. They're now about 7 to 4, which is a reflection of Nuno's form and how he's picked up and how the team's performing. Like I say, Leeds were really big. Palace were in the conversation for a couple of weeks, but had a good few results. And obviously, Tottenham have come flying into the conversation. I think Spurs would have been well over double digits in November, December, and now they're as short as 2 to 1. West Ham have kind of been the constants in there, though, Jim, and obviously, you know, Leeds and Burnley and Wolves have always been in the conversation. But that 18th spot, lads, is still very, very wide open in my opinion.
Okay, and a talkSPORT exclusive tonight, Brentford Wolves. What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's I know we're just talking about the race for European football there. We didn't mention Brentford. They are right in the mix, lads. A win tonight takes them 1 point behind Chelsea. They're 8 to 15 to beat Wolves at home. 16 to 5 the draw. Wolves 24 to 5. Quite big outsiders, but Wolves have won 2 on the bounce. I think they won the last 2, having won just 1 of their previous 32. So definitely an upturn in form in Wolves' book. Brentford, plenty to play for. I think not in the cup competitions, considering they were very similar price to Wolves for relegation pre-season, fellas. Keith Andrews and everyone at Brentford, now they're getting priced up for top 6. That is just a reflection of how well he's done and how well the team's done there. If the Brentford fans are interested, 7 to 1 for the top 5, 9 to 4 for the top 6. Again, I think it'd mean Chelsea, Liverpool, Villa taking the foot off the boil. But if Brentford get there, fellas, what a season.
Oh, not half. Incredible. Matt, thanks for that. Visit betmgm.co.uk, download the app, 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
On this week's Inside Liverpool, winger Jermaine Pennant gave some of his own stats on Honestly after hearing about the Dutchman winning 62 of those 100 in charge.
We've lost to Galatasaray twice without scoring a goal. They finished 20th in the league phase. We've lost both to Man City and Man United at Anfield. We've lost 4-1 to PSV. Then the next game after that, 3-0 to Forest at home, both games at Anfield. We failed to beat Leeds twice this season. We failed to beat all 3 promoted teams at Anfield. We've lost 3 times to Crystal Palace this season. Lost to Wolves, Brentford, and Bournemouth away. Now, I don't know who you blame for that. I don't know if you blame the players or the manager, but hearing that is absolutely shocking. As current Premier League champions, that is dreadful.
Jermaine Pennant there on Inside Reds. And if you want to watch the latest Inside series, all the episodes are available on talkSPORT's YouTube channel. That's all thanks to BetMGM 18+, begambleaware.org.
Inside Series on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Watch the latest Inside Series episode live on talkSPORT's YouTube channel now. 18+, gambleaware.org.
Are those fair stats for Jermaine Pennant to use in his argument against Arne Slot?
Well, they are facts, aren't they? So, and it depends on the standard which you judge Liverpool by, and them standards have certainly dropped a long way below what was set last season.
Hello and welcome to talkSPORT Goals. I'm taking you through what should be another busy day of football.
Chance to win it!
We don't need to do that, guys.
I'm going to owe you an apology.
How would you get to that conclusion? That's a weak mentality.
Oh, get out of it.
White and Jordan's weekend football roundup on talkSPORT with Trustford. With over 15,000 five-star reviews on Trustpilot, you can put your trust in Trustford.
We're going to look back at some of the weekend action with Trustford, but we're going to look at a specific player, and no prizes for guessing the specific player that who may in time become one of this particular club, Arsenal's most trusted players. He's certainly writing all the headlines, that is for sure. What do Arsenal and maybe England have in Max Dman? 16 years and 73 days old. He became the youngest scorer in Premier League history. He surpassed the likes of James Vaughan and Wayne Rooney. With Arsenal struggling to break Everton down, the score at 0-0, Arteta brought on Dman in the 74th minute, and he won the game for Arsenal with an assist and a goal. This was Arteta on this young boy.
Bowling ahead, I had a gut feeling, and yesterday was training and the last few days, and I had a gut feeling that it was a moment for him, and probably it's because he doesn't seem to be faced by the occasion or the moment or the context or the opponent. He just plays so naturally. He makes decisions to make things happen, and what he delivered, it was incredible.
It sure was. He's been training, Martin, with the Arsenal first team since he was 14. Simon, you've mentioned this boy as well. But I'll ask you, Martin, we'll get into it because of the age, etc., and the aspects around that. What do Arsenal have in him?
Oh, an immense talent. There's no doubt. I mean, obviously people have been trying to protect. He's been training with the first team now for 18 months. He was injured for 3 months, and that's why he hasn't been used up to now. When Eri was allowed to go, another top talent's been allowed to go to Marseille. The pathway's there for him. And the manager was just waiting for a moment. The Mansfield game was interesting because the pitch was really poor, but yet he was dancing across the pitch, could have had a hat-trick in that game and didn't. And it was like, okay, right. And any surface, this kid looks like he can do the business. And the timing to put him on, Jim, because you have to protect these young players. But this young kid doesn't seem to know any nerves. He doesn't seem to be fazed by anything. He comes on in the wide right position and he sends a teasing ball in where England's top goalkeeper comes and thinks, yeah, I can get that. He doesn't. And then eventually it's in the back of the net. And the second goal, Jim, is all about him. If he loses possession of that ball, he could have been excused. I probably would have cleared it. But no, he's thinking, if I can get past one player and I get past two players, which he does with another little jing, beautiful touch with his right foot, I can run this all the way through. So there was an element of risk about that, but it was quite brilliant. He's probably going to play as a 10 eventually. It'd be very interesting to see now how the manager uses him because, you know, look, this kid is still, he hasn't got a provisional license. You know, he's taken his GCSEs this summer. It's you have to check the birth certificate. It's remarkable. In fact, I thought you guys might be running with a story. You know, the narrative always seems to change. You know, oh, Arsenal can only win the league with a 16-year-old kid. Do you know? Because he's that good, but he has to be used wisely by the manager. I'm sure he will be.
There's a bunch of noise around him now, Simon. That's almost inevitable. Here's an example of that noise, if you like. This was Alan Pardew on the final word.
I mean, going back to the young boy, he is an exceptional talent because he has this way that once he gets into full speed, he moves his body and he can move. He just moves defenders just with a slight movement of his body. And only great players can do that. Johan Cruyff could do that. George Best could do that. Messi can obviously do that. And I had a player at Newcastle, Hatem Ben Arfa, who was a bit like that. And Dman has got that ability when he has the ball to baffle defenders just by the slight movement of his body.
John Terry joined in as well, Simon. I watched him play against Chelsea about a year ago. I haven't seen anybody glide past people like this boy does, other than Messi. And that's a big comparison. But this guy's a proper talent and will play a big part in Arsenal's future and also England as well. So Arsenal have got a job in their hands here, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, it's a nice job to have in your hands, isn't it? I mean, I saw him 3 years ago, a little bit more than 3 years ago, when he was 13. They were raving about him then at Arsenal, raving about him. And I remember Rio Ferdinand talking about 2.5 years ago, talking about this kid that Arsenal have got in their academy. He'll be on a scholarship contract with a pro contract on the back of it, so he's still only getting paid scholarship money. So that could be 500 quid a week, could be even less. You know, who knows what Arsenal pays a scholarship. But they'll have done a scholarship deal because he's 16. You can't sign a pro contract till you're 17. His pro contract will be a gimme because of the scholarship contract will have referenced it when he signed it. What's nice to see is technically talented players being produced that are British players, because we always rave so much about the Lamals of the world and all the younger players around the world that are playing in other countries. We've got one here. This is a journey for him, though. I mean, we have seen many players that have got really significant ability. How they manage him, how they keep him away from the distractions, which will be media centric and agent centric. I don't know what his family are like. We've seen it before with Jude Bellingham, well managed by their families. He's a prestigious talent, and you know, he was the go-to ball. When he comes on in many games for Arsenal that he's played, they look for him. They look
That's
for
been
him to change the game.
significant, isn't it? Seeing the players trusting him, giving him the ball because they know he can do something. And I think the way they all celebrated, and you know, people have said the Arsenal team I played in was full of superstars, Jim. This might be that player that then takes the club on, but it has to all be managed, and we will have to keep a lid on it.
Are we talking about the super of superstars? There's a message from Martin. The Brazilians had a big decision to make many years ago. Pele was 16, went to the World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
The rest is history.
Jim, let's reserve judgment.
Max Daumann. There's a World Cup.
No. You know, I think that happened to Theo Walcott without even actually playing in an Arsenal team, and that was done based on, you know, Sven with respect, saw him train. I was there that day, working in the staff at Arsenal. You know, look, you wouldn't deny him it, but I can't. I mean, he's going to have to do an awful lot between now and the end of the season, Jim, if he's going to get into a World Cup squad. And we've got enough 10s to stock a whole team, haven't we, at the moment? But no, let's just. I mean, I think it's a huge plus for Arsenal. It's just like some huge signing. It creates a lot of pride in the club when you develop somebody through the ranks and it comes to fruition because they always knew it was there, and it's an iconic moment, really.
Has he always been? He's not one of those that Arsenal a pinch from another academy, which is often the case. Has he been developed all the way through?
I believe he's been through there. You're right. Rio Ferdinand brought him to my attention about 3 years ago. Rio watches a lot of that football, and he just said, he was giggling. He thought he was that good. So it's great to see him, Jim, finally do something in the first team that really counts. Youngest player to ever score a goal in the Premier League, and remarkable.
Good luck to Max. Martin, I mean, as we head towards 12 noon, is there a momentum about Arsenal again? I mean, are they finding a way no matter what?
Do you know what we'll say, Jim? Just to be balanced, sometimes be accused of not being balanced. Everton, I thought were really magnificent in the game. Calafiori makes a block. It's ridiculous. I don't know how he got in the way of it. Everton could have been 2 up. Some of the saves from the goalkeeper. So David Moyes forever getting better for me, even now. I'm not sure what age he is, but he's even better as a manager. Everton looking good away from home, 24 points this season. They were right in this game to the 87th minute. Arsenal, though, had 22 goals, 22 shots. And it seemed to be a matter of time. But when it flicked a switch and they found a way to win, which was really impressive.
So, I mean, to be cheeky, have they swapped bottle for grit?
Bottle for grit. I just think this is different this year. It's like we're not seeing what we've seen in years gone by, where they couldn't quite get over the line. They find a way to win now.
Which they do, but they're not going to be challenged in the way that I thought they might be. I mean, City.
Sunday's a challenge for them.
Yeah, in the Carabao Cup. But either which way, I think even if Arsenal were to lose this Carabao Cup, which is a possibility, it's a 50-50 game.
Of course.
I don't think it will undermine their pursuit of the Premier League. It's their time.
They don't play in the Premier League for a month.
It is their time.
With England games coming up.
And whether Michael likes it or not, it is theirs to lose. Because other people have got to do things that Arsenal don't. So bottom line is, if Arsenal continue to play the way they're playing, they will win the Premier League. The challenge for me is in terms of, like last year with Liverpool, they aren't being pushed by the opposition, despite the fact that Man City are in proximity. When it comes to the end of the season, I bet you there's a gap. I bet you there's a 9-point gap between the two sides.
Really? Like when Leicester won it?
No. In terms of the defending champions have not been anything vaguely resembling what defending champions should be.
No.
Aston Villa are falling away. The only side that are actually really going forward with significant momentum are Manchester United, ironically.
Say it's a comfortable win for Manchester City on Sunday, Martin.
God,
that would no way derail what your boys are trying to do.
Look, between now and then, Arsenal play against Bayern Leverkusen, who, by the way, drew with Bayern Munich at the weekend.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of football between now and then. But City, may feel that was a backward step last weekend. They've got a Champions League. Are they going to go out of that? If they were to go out of the League Cup as well, all of these things have a detrimental effect going forward. Arsenal only think about themselves right now, and they need to go past Leverkusen, and then they can think about a nice day out at Wembley.
We got through that Arsenal chat without even mentioning John Obi Mikel and what he mentioned about Arsenal.
What did you give him to drink that day?
We haven't forgotten that. That was a look back at the weekend's football action, specifically Arsenal beating Everton and Max Dman being the star player. And we did that with Truss Ford at 12 noon.
White and Jordan's weekend football roundup on talkSPORT with Truss Ford. Discover the world of Truss Ford for you at trussford.co.uk.
Tottenham Hotspur have delayed season ticket renewals, which normally open by the 15th of March until the end of the season. A statement read this to season ticket holders yesterday: "We recognise the seriousness of the current league position, and following discussions with our fan advisory board and the Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Trust, we can confirm the renewal window for 2026-27 will now remain open for an extended period until Sunday, the 7th of June. And this is because, of course, relegation is a real threat now, and even the club are recognising that could be a possibility. This comes as TalkSport understands that Igor Tudor has already alienated much of the Spurs squad. His treatment of goalkeeper Antonin Kinski during Tuesday night's hammering at Atletico Madrid did not go down with the dressing room. First of all, Crook, why don't you tell us, because you're the inside man here, what you understand the state of play to be?
I think a lot of the senior Spurs players, if you like, already have big reservations about Igor Tudor and his man management, and those were only exasperated by what happened with Kinski. I thought it was quite pointed. Jed Spence was also not acknowledged by his manager when he went off and came back and made a very public display of shaking his hand. So I think this is an appointment that is unravelling very quickly. I believe that conversations have taken place already between Spurs and potential other managers. Sean Dyche has been mentioned in the last 72 hours or so, but I think he would want a long-term contract, not a deal until the end of the season. There was even talk of Ange Postecoglou possibly being asked to return. I don't think, having made inquiries this morning, that will happen. Ryan Mason as another interim for the third time, it is a possibility.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van range, helping business owners to work better and live better. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
With your headlines at 3 minutes past 12, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good afternoon. As Dominic Szoboszlai warns Liverpool need to give themselves a jolt before they wake up in the Conference League, we're told the pressure on Slot is real. Here's Liverpool.com reporter Matt Addison.
The pressure is to get more from the players he's got, but also Liverpool have got a little bit of an unbalanced squad. They lack pace and width and quality in wide areas. There's obviously been shortages at centre-back and right-back as well.
Meanwhile, Igor Tudor remains in charge of Spurs for Atletico Madrid, live on talkSPORT 2 on Wednesday night. And fan group change for Tottenham have cancelled a planned protest for Sunday's game with Forest. That's to focus on getting behind the team. Jude Bellingham and Kylian Mbappe are fit again for Real Madrid's trip to Man City tomorrow night. Sunderland's Dan Ballard is in Northern Ireland squad for their World Cup playoff against Italy. That's despite an injury scare. And ahead of Thomas Tuchel's latest England squad on Friday, we've asked Max Dowman's former academy coach if the 16-year-old might go along for the experience.
We've seen with Arteta, he drafted him into training from the age of 14, and of course he's now been playing in under-21s and had opportunities with the first team.
Temmerson Williams says Tuchel knows best, but he's asking everyone to stop comparing the 16-year-old Dowman to legends of the game. And despite England's worst ever Six Nations, former head coach Eddie Jones has told us the RFU should stick with Steve Borthwick, but the head coach has got to make a call on his fly half.
He started with George Ford at 10, then went to Finn Smith at 10, and that's in rugby, you know, it's a crucial position. It's generally a quarterback, so that's going to be a big decision on who he continues with, and that person needs to have a run of games now up until the World Cup.
That World Cup is at the back end of next year. More at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
The Prime Minister's announced £53 million for customers using heating oil, and 5 people are in hospital after a 15-vehicle crash on the M73 last night. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Whatever the winter weather, Bridgestone Turanza all-season 6 tyres, guaranteed for 25,000 miles. Book today at quickfit.com. Conditions apply.
Cloudy and breezy for most of us as rain moves eastwards. The fast south staying largely dry. Average temperatures turning warmer through the week.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's 6 minutes past 12 noon. It's Jim White, it's Simon Jordan, and it's Arsenal Invincible, Martin Keown, and we are live on talkSPORT, flying along. A lot to get in the final hour today, not least what an incredible Six Nations tournament it was, with La Belle France coming out on top at the end of it all. What a match that was in Paris on Saturday night. England going so close, but it was the French who won it. In the meantime, it was a weekend of headline news in the world of football, because some of the results have really got us talking today about what may or may not happen further down the line. And certainly Manchester United and Michael Carrick come into that conversation, do they not? Manchester United beat Aston Villa by 3-1, and it's his 7th win for Carrick since taking charge of United 2 months ago. He has catapulted the Old Trafford side into 3rd spot. They're in 54 points and going along very, very nicely. Begs the question, should he get the job full time? Carrick played all that talk down. He would have done if we could hear it. It's on the way, I think. Michael Carrick didn't want to engage on all the talk that he should be getting the job. And all the talk is right, Simon, because Wayne Rooney, 100% he should get the job. I have said this. I knew this was going to happen with Michael Carrick. I know him well. I know his character, his personality. Roy Keane, though, disagrees. I think there are better options out there. I think to manage United, you need someone with a lot more experience in terms of winning trophies, competing in Europe, and he hasn't got that. He might have that in a few years, and he might be in the mix then, but not now.
I'm not going to take much credence behind Wayne's observations because his managerial experience is based upon his own outcomes, and I think there's not a lot of credence in that, despite the fact he's played for Alex Ferguson and played for other managers that have been of a high level. And he said it last night on Match of the Day. I saw him, and I listened to Roy Keane, and obviously Roy's got some issue with Michael Carrick because he re-engineered his argument, because he started with the default setting as I don't think he should be given the job, because I don't think he should be given the job. And when he was asked to give a name, he didn't really have much of one, and then he began to work his way back into the conversation to talk about the fact that it's no jeopardy on the situation right now. There's no pressure, there's no expectation. He's got players that know that he's a temporary manager, that ultimately that he's playing nicely with to some extent to get the best from them. When he has to start making decisions about contracts and people that are going to stay and people that are going to go, all of a sudden the dynamic will change. If we're going to ask him to win leagues, anybody in this room see Michael Carrick winning a league with Man United, winning the Champions League with Man United? So he fleshed out his argument. Right now, all Michael Carrick can do is what he's doing, which is win football matches.
Yeah.
And make sense of what he's doing. Now, in the longer game, I'm kind of in Roy's camp, because when we look back on the history of the managers that supposedly failed at Manchester United, when you look at them now, you look at Mourinho's tenure, despite the fact he went very dark at the end of it, because he had a turn because he couldn't get Harry Maguire or whatever it was at the time he wanted, and he wasn't given support for, and he wasn't living up in Manchester, he was commuting from London. If you look at that team that won the League Cup, won the Europa League, and finished second in the Premier League, that looks like a successful Manchester United side, albeit not the side of the previous times, but in against recent times. So the answer to go to more experienced managers does feel like the example, the right and more experienced manager at the right stage in their career. Ruben Amorim was a winning manager, but clearly not the right fit for Man United, irrespective of the fact he was a European winning manager because he won the Portuguese league.
Right.
So I'm kind of with Roy, but
you're with Roy.
Yeah,
in a certain way. I mean, he's not doing anything to rule himself out of contention.
No, I know, but also what Roy's picture is trying to extrapolate it. And I know there's a lot of cachet around Steve Holland and so on and so forth, but he was part of the England setup that flattered to deceive, that didn't win anything when they could have done. So whilst he might be an excellent coach, we're still looking at a bunch of people, with respect of being Michael Carrick being an elite footballer, that as from a management point of view have got what on their resume. So it's part of the conversation, not the only part of it. But if Carrick goes to the end of the season and United finish third, or even, dare I say it, catch City and finish second, then there's going to be a clamour of people suggesting that he's proven himself, that he's had 18, 19 games, and out of that 18, 19 games, or whatever many he's had, he's done X, Y, Z. I mean, they are far better for him being there, but that's because common sense has prevailed. You haven't got a manager that seems to want to riddle himself into cul-de-sacs and play a group of players that can't play the way he wants them to play. You've got a manager that's ultimately under no real pressure, because everyone thinks that United were... The pressure will come now. Now United are third. Now the pressure's now, because everyone's going to expect... United fans are going to go, you better finish inside the top four now, because you're there now.
But yeah, I take on board what Simon's saying, Martin, but if he secures Champions League football for United, what exactly is going to rule him out?
Yeah,
What's going to rule him
I get it. I do. Roy's a respected voice, and I do take the point that this group, pretty well the same group of players, finished quite low down the table the year before when they had, they were signings that were made, but the core of the group, the system was different, which is obviously gives a good platform to what you're trying to achieve. But since Carrick's been in there, it's been literally one game a week. And I made the point earlier in the show when But with the only times they haven't won is when they've had a midweek game. So it's not exactly been a shopping list of football matches against what everybody else is playing a ridiculous number of games here, right? So he's 7 days a week to prepare.
So there's an advantage there.
Yeah, he's playing a 4-4-2 system where he just decided, look, you know, let's change the way we're going to play here a little bit, or 4-3-3, where everybody could understand it. Everyone looking around like they couldn't understand the previous manager. So that was a good thing. They put Maguire back into central defence, who I thought was really necessary to put there, formed a little partnership. All over the pitch, they're playing a whole lot better, playing a lot better football. They've beaten Man City, they've beaten Arsenal. You know, they've only lost one game, Jim, in this period. It's been quite. I would go somewhere in between. I would take Carrick. I say, let's go on. Let's go on with him. Let's make the steps. They've tried in the past to bring these.
Plan now for him to get.
I think so. I think he deserves that opportunity to do that, but be mindful of how they develop this, Jim. You know, coaches around him, how they develop the game, the club, with somebody in mind for the long-term future. They may already have that person earmarked to come in.
You see, I'm with Martin on that, Simon. When you look at it, who else? Is there anybody else there who could really boast that I could have done that? I could have done what Carrick's done. When Carrick took over at Old Trafford in January, the gap to Villa was 11 points. Yeah. 2 months on, the picture's changed. They're third on 54. Villa fifth on 51.
Villa have imploded.
Villa have won 2 in 12.
Villa have imploded, so that's probably not a great equivalency. The question is,
United have excelled.
Is that there's a part of me that thinks that Michael Carrick should be thanked very much and brought away from the firing line to save him from himself. Because you will now be facing, if United go back into the Champions League next year, which looks like they possibly will, then there's a whole different set of scenarios coming his way. From managing the way that Martin suggests, that now you've got to manage more than one game a week, you've got to manage 2, you've got to also change the direction of travel around the squad. Is Maguire going to be signed? Casemiro going to be given another year? Or because people once upon a time writing him off and now eulogising him? It feels to me that that United will be in a situation where they've lucked out by getting Carrick to do something they probably didn't expect him to do, and they probably need a bigger, better, more experienced manager that knows his way around managing elite clubs and managing the expectations. Because the moment you turn that light back on Man United and they stop being grateful for the team turning up on the field, which is what they're currently grateful for, and they start going back to what they were before, which is we're the biggest club in world football and we expect to win things, it puts a different focus on things.
Doesn't the Jim Ratcliffe, the owner, doesn't he then form a loyalty here? He's seen all these, you know, big names and everything else. The previous manager he brought in gave him a lot of time, and he thought, hold on a minute, this guy's not doing what he promised. It's not what it said on the tin, but this guy is.
Yeah.
Does he just say, well, okay, let's be patient, let's work with this?
Maybe. But did CV come into it when Arsenal appointed Arteta? Did CV really come into it when Chelsea recently appointed Rosenior?
No. And obviously Rosenior is slightly different because they came from inside a model that the club already owns.
Sure.
Right? And Chelsea will look at things slightly differently, whichever way you Chelsea fans want.
I think it's almost impossible now to make a case against Carrick.
No, I think there's always a reason for making a case against him. Depends
so
who's
what's the case against him?
The best of managers available, or you can get. If there isn't, then the case becomes weaker. So if, say for example, Luis Enrique was able to be attracted out of PSG because the next opportunity for him is a spinner wheel in the English Premier League, you'd have a conversation with him. So you might want to talk to Simeone's brand. You know, he's not going to get him out of Madrid because he's been there forever and a day. But there are other people, again, Alonso possibly not the case because of the nature of the relationship with Liverpool. But here's the thing, you would want to think that you would have an open mind to either Carrick staying in the building but looking around and saying, well, what gets me better? Is there somebody that gets me better? And if there does, then I'll be thanking Michael Carrick for giving them a nice platform to build off. A bit like Arne Slot took when Jurgen Klopp built.
Perhaps Roy knows who's coming in. Perhaps he knows.
It feels to me like Roy's got an issue. I mean, he talks about Carrick's wife having too much to say for herself in the past. So it feels to me that Roy's got an issue with Carrick because he's a default, straight out of jail. No, I don't think he should be the manager. And he's gone from the very get-go with that and hasn't changed his mind. So it feels to me there's a bit of a bias there from Roy.
I just think, Simon, I know it's easy to say it because it's happened. I think it's virtually impossible to think that anyone would have gone in there, Martin, and done what Carrick's done.
Well, look, Champions League.
Ruud Nistelrooy went in last year and won 4 games in a row and got the Leicester job.
It looks easy on the outside, doesn't it? But you have to applaud what he's done there, Jim. It's been quite a turnaround.
You have to give praise where praise due, and absolutely right. But it's a whole different thing from coming into a situation where everybody's expecting nothing to everybody's reawakened their expectations now.
Yeah.
And also, you have to make unpopular decisions. Right now, what he's doing, he has the wonderful opportunity to sweep away all of the Amorim nonsense. All the players not know whether they were Arthur or Martha, anyone know not where they're going, and all of a sudden they do. And they're all happy. And Maguire's looking like he's going to get a new contract. Come to the summer, when they don't give Maguire a new contract, and they don't renew Casemiro, and people start going, well, that was my mate. How's that happened to him? It could happen to me. Whole different set of rules here.
All right. At the moment, though, Carrick, it would appear it's certainly not, maybe not in the box seat, but certainly a major contender for the job full time. We're talking rugby next. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan, Martin Keown, live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
Morning, guys.
Jermaine.
Morning, Gav.
Jay,
Morning,
good
boss.
morning.
Morning, boss. You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. All good.
Why are you not here, Jermaine? I thought you would be with us today in the box, smelling amazing.
I might have to come down, actually. Looks like it's going to be fun. Nice day for it.
Yeah, great day.
Jump on the helicopter, you'll be fine, mate. He's not a racing man, I don't think, is he?
Oh,
I'm not. The boss knows I'm not really, and he's getting involved in it, though.
Yeah.
Saying all the right
He's well
things.
behaved, didn't come on a Tuesday when he was in on a Wednesday. No.
Yeah, he was definitely there on a Tuesday.
We're the lads here. All got the helicopter here, didn't they? Did they? Tottenham, yeah. Yeah.
That was Rob,
Jermaine,
that
it's
was
good to have you on with this. Let's get your thoughts now on your former club. Shall we start with Spurs? It's a bit of a mess.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously it's been a hard watch all season. To be honest, I think especially the other night I watched the game and yeah, it was just I think the manager's come in and he's in, especially in that game, he's decided to start a young goalkeeper in Kingsley, and I think I was surprised when he took him off. To be honest, I think when you have a young goalkeeper and you make that decision in such a game of that magnitude to start him, I think you've got to stay with him. I think what a young goalkeeper can gain from that sort of experience, even though it weren't going well when he made the two big mistakes. But I think you've got to stay with him. And the fact that the manager decided to take him off and not really acknowledge him when he come off, I just think that human side, I think you've got to manage that situation in the right way. It doesn't look good. I think try and get through half time and allow the senior players to get around him and help him in the second half. But to drag him off after the two mistakes, it was hard for me to see that, to be honest.
Hello and welcome to talkSPORT Goals. We're taking you through what should be another busy day of football.
Chance to win it!
We don't need to do that, guys.
I'm going to owe you an apology.
How would you get to that conclusion? That's a weak mentality.
Oh, get out of it.
You know, we often say, God, it was a great event. I was on the edge of my seat. I was on the edge of my seat on Saturday night watching the rugby, coming live from Paris. France against England. Scotland had played earlier and had lost to the Irish. This was France against England, Simon. And I was on the edge of my seat. Such was the game. But it was the French who won this match 48-46. Another festival of point scoring. With the last kick of the ball, literally Thomas Ramos with the last kick of the game. It was something else. I mean, talkSPORT's rugby commentator Andrew McKenna. I don't know what you think, Andrew, but this Six Nations campaign to me delivered on all fronts.
That was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Lots of people saying the best ever. I don't know how you quantify a tournament, so I don't know if that's true. But what I will say is, since we went to 6 teams, therefore 5 rounds of games, it's probably the first time that we've had genuine competition in virtually all of the matches. And that's all we can ask for. And you said Saturday evening. Mine started Saturday afternoon, Saturday lunchtime. I was like that for about 8 hours on Saturday. I was in absolute pieces.
Yeah, I mean, Ireland-Scotland delivered as well, but the Scots faded and Ireland deserved to win it and did so.
Yeah, absolutely. They just had too much. They managed to keep Scotland at arm's length, really, although Scotland managed to score 3 tries. You never really thought they were going to win. Therefore, Ireland at home, with that home crowd behind them, they played really well. People keep saying that this is Andy Farrell's Ireland who are rebuilding. I'll tell you what, when they finish, they're going to be handy. They therefore went into that final game hoping that England would win and therefore Ireland would be in with a chance. And as you said, it went all the way down to the final kick of the final match of the final round of games. Can't ask more than that, can you?
And it wasn't an easy kick, was it? But by God, he backed himself and he got it. Here's the thing, though, Andrew. No matter what, when you look at this table, France, Ireland, Scotland, Italy, England, Wales. Italy finished above England. 1 victory for England. Their worst return in any Six Nations since 2000. So it begs the question, is Borthwick the man? This was Borthwick post-match.
We're reflecting that it's painful. We're all hurting. I know the supporters are hurting as well. We wanted to make sure that they had wins to celebrate, and we weren't able to give that to them. And we're all hurting that everyone involved with the team cares so deeply. So immediate reflection is that huge disappointment, the sense of a determination to make sure that this hurt makes the team stronger in the future.
And just finally, from me, does that performance for you kind of underline why you feel you are the right man to lead this team going forward?
I believe the right man to lead the team going forward, regardless.
You got to admire the way he just bats those questions back, don't you, Andrew?
Steve has very little enjoyment of doing the media, shall we say. So he's not a soundbite coach by any stretch of the imagination. He plays with the straightest of straight bats. If he were a cricketer, he would not be a T20 player. Trust me on that one. So Steve is... the reason we're having these conversations is that South Africa made a coaching change, reappointed Rassie Erasmus 18 months before a World Cup, and they went on and won it. They were in a poor state. And so everyone now looks at the time frame. Well, we are now around 18 months away from the next World Cup. It is September, October 27. So in other words, we are in that window. The next time England play will be the summer, which effectively is now down to 12 months or just over before the next World Cup. That's when Steve Borthwick himself was appointed, when he replaced Eddie Jones. So effectively, we're in that window. Do I think Steve will be replaced? No, I don't. Because what we saw... Yes, on Saturday evening, was that when England's players are given slightly more freedom, they can compete with one of the best sides in the world. We let the dogs off the leash. And there was a great article from Stuart Barnes over the weekend, basically saying that when things get a bit squeaky, then Steve tends to grip the reins a little bit tighter. He reins in the excitement factor, if you like. He reins in the entertainment value. That's his default position. He kind of needs to let things go because the way these players are playing week in, week out, that is their default style. They feel more comfortable playing that way. They were brilliant on Saturday, and I hope the England players aren't too downhearted. Yes, they lost that game, But all we wanted was them to make us get off our seats and get excited. By God, they did that.
Yeah. I mean, you wonder, Simon, if England would have played like that if it was a Six Nations decider, say. I mean, the French got there in the end.
Sure.
Because they had to.
Yeah. I mean, it's a disappointing tournament. However you cut it and however you slice and dice it, however Steve Borthwick is the right person, it might be because there's an absence of better candidates. But you can't perform in a Six Nations in this manner. With all due respect to losing to the Scots, it's a repeated thing in the Calcutta Cup. And to lose in the manner that we did against Italy is just not acceptable. And listen, maybe it's the darkest before the dawn. That's what they say. Building from that, we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, the last time we went into a World Cup, we went into it with no aspirations, no ambitions, and did far better than people expected.
Yeah.
But this is a side. It's interesting you talk about the fact this is they did the worst they've done since 2000. What happened in 2001?
Andrew, what's your gut feeling? So I just wanted to ask Andrew, because he's obviously painstaking. He watched it. I was doing a lot of football at the weekend. It's been an amazing Six Nations. Italy, you're right. You know, it's finally they're at the level, aren't they, now, where we have a proper competition. How has it left you feeling? Do you feel that the team will turn the corner? And the French, because the French performance was quite amazing. We saw some great rugby in the game. But what's your gut feeling? Is this going to work out well for Steve Borthwick?
Again, I'll go back to what I just said, Martin. I think it now depends as to how Steve views his role as coach. Does he want to dictate and insist that they play a certain way?
What do you think he should do then? Do you think he should let them off the reins again? Or is it just because they were in a position of, right, OK, guys, go and restore some pride?
It's partly that, but if there's a blueprint that suddenly works, there wasn't anyone on social media Saturday evening during that game going, my God, what are England doing? They're playing attractive, open rugby. We need to tighten this back up again. Everyone was, the virtual unanimous call was, where's this England been for the last month?
Yes.
That tells you kind of where you need to be. Whether we like it or not, sport is entertainment. And rugby needs bums on seats. They need eyes on the sport. This was 8:10, primetime ITV. That's the Anton Deck slot. You don't get that slot very often. That was rugby's opportunity to say, this is what we've got, this is how it is. And unfortunately, someone at the RFU may need to have a quiet word with Steve to say, look, we need more of this. Because this is a sport that needs to grow.
You're right, Andrew.
It might not be the best way for you to coach a side. And I can imagine there were coaches pulling their hair out of that. Because there was lack of structure, lack of this, lack of that. But I tell you what, it was what the public wanted.
And the French won it. The Irish are strong. Scotland are improving. Italy are improving. Wales, dare I say it, at last are improving. All of a sudden, England and Borthwick had better get their act together.
Oh, look, it's fantastic. We've got genuinely 6 sides there or thereabouts. And just in the second tier competition, Portugal, remember them from the last World Cup? They made a lot of friends. They actually beat Georgia yesterday to take the Division 2 European title. For the first time in, I think it's 7 or 8 years, that Georgia haven't won that title. The rest of the world is coming. So you can't rest on your laurels. You need to keep on going and hopefully grow this sport.
Andrew, it's not often we'll talk rugby, mention Portugal and Ant and Deck. But we did. We did. It's 12:30. We're live on talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
Just so typical.
So nonsensical.
PSG 3, Chelsea 2, and goodness me, boys, you've shot yourselves in the foot.
What is that? What is that?
I said it. We said it. You bring in a keeper because he's good with his feet. But really and truly, is he that good with his feet? What's this shambolic goal?
Reece James plays the ball back to Jorgensen, who tries to play out from the back, and he gets intercepted. It falls to a PSG player. And by the way, as well, when he gets worked to Vitinha, the goalkeeper's off his line. And that is some dinked finish, isn't it? But once again there, Kwaku, he's taking way too much time. And my goodness me, in a game of football where you're level at 2-2, possibly looking the better team, in a game of this magnitude, at this level, mistakes like that, Louis, are just completely unacceptable.
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. This is why when people talk about keepers playing with the ball at their feet all the time and how it's a massive priority, yes, I appreciate the game is changing, but the priority for a goalkeeper is saving it.
There's also moments as well that I don't think they're clearly there. You had a PSG player coming from the left-hand side.
It's illogical.
You could see ahead as well someone's being pressed. I'm with you. Playing out from the back is a part of football, but if you can see there's pressure on, there has to be a moment where you don't play out from the back and you just go long.
But this is the problem. There's this consistent need to always play out the back, always play out, always play out. Just this another problem with this Chelsea team, but also not just this Chelsea team. A lot of teams now, because there is so much pressure on playing out from the back, they make silly decisions like that all the time, and we give them the ball away again.
Tudor says he's not been spending time worrying about getting sacked after Richarlison potentially saved his job with that late equaliser at Anfield.
I never think about my future, my past. I always think about training tomorrow, how to help the players. No, don't read nothing, don't watch nothing.
Well, Liverpool were booed off in that one, and Dominic Szoboszlai is now worried the team are sleepwalking towards the Conference League. Down the M62, Wayne Rooney is joining the chorus calling for Michael Carrick to get the Man United job permanently, and Alan Pardew has told talkSPORT it just makes sense.
The players obviously respect him. He's obviously getting the performances, and he's obviously getting the victories. So my view and my advice to them as a board would be keep Michael Carrick.
Following England's worst ever Six Nations campaign, the last head coach says the RFU should stick with Steve Borthwick.
They had a series of 12 wins before this, so the team was going well. To get 12 wins, in any competition in the world, and particularly at the top level, is pretty good.
Well, Eddie Jones has also told us Borthwick must choose a fly half and stay with him leading up to next year's World Cup. And Cam Norrie has replaced Jack Draper as Britain's men's tennis #1. Norrie is now 24th in the world after getting to the quarterfinals at Indian Wells.
Interesting title race, of course, in Scotland. It's a three-way race, but Motherwell are in there as well, and they would count themselves part of that, although they lost to Martin Keown Celtic at the weekend. Rangers won at St Mirren, and Derek McInnes and Hearts went down at Kilmarnock, so it's going to go right down to the wire, it would seem. But we're now a week on from that Old Firm disorder that we saw at Ibrox Stadium in the Scottish Cup. Celtic put Rangers out of the Scottish Cup on penalty kicks. Some of the Celtic fans in the Broomloan stand at Ibrox, a bigger support than usual because it's a cup. They celebrated by going onto the pitch, and then a large number of Rangers fans were onto the pitch as well to confront those Celtic fans who had done just that. Throughout the week, we were thinking, when will we hear from Rangers? When will we hear from Celtic? Well, we didn't throughout the week. On this show, we heard from former Rangers player-manager Graham Souness, and we heard from Celtic interim manager Martin O'Neill. So they did their bit, and we did ours. But where were the clubs? No statement was forthcoming. We have since heard from them, but before that, speaking at the Scottish Parliament, the police chief constable Joe Farrell was unhappy that no one from either club had yet come out to condemn the disorder.
To those events, members of the public were injured, officers were injured, lots of coverage in the media in relation to the events of Sunday afternoon. When we got to Monday evening, there was still no commentary from either of those clubs in respect of the violence that was witnessed. Nobody came out to condemn that violence. And we can put more and more resources into football, but that doesn't solve the underlying issue that people should be able to attend those events without fearing for their safety.
Now, thereafter, we did hear from Celtic and we did hear from Rangers. Celtic chairman Brian Wilson spoke to the club TV channel on the disorder.
I was disappointed, frankly, with the comments of the chief constable because, as she presumably knows, Celtic work very closely with Police Scotland. We respect the role of the Safety Advisory Group, and when there is evidence of unacceptable behaviours, we act against both individuals and groups, and all of that is well on the record. And I think that measuring responses by condemnatory statements isn't really very accurate. That if this could be resolved by statements of condemnation, it would have been resolved decades ago. And what you had there was a euphoric response from our supporters. It's not uncommon. In fact, it's happened on quite numerous occasions this season alone in Scottish football, where you have an overspill onto the pitch, and that in itself, does not normally draw expressions of condemnation. And therefore, what I would say about that is that, I welcome the SFA's intention to have a full inquiry. So let's look at the evidence. If there's evidence of violence, if there's evidence of threats of violence, then of course I'll condemn that. But let's look at the evidence before we create maybe a false narrative.
Rangers said in a statement, the disorder that occurred on Sunday was unacceptable. We condemn it unequivocally. And they went on to say, further into that statement, it's important that the reputation of Rangers supporters is treated fairly in this discussion. Tens of thousands of people attended Ibrox on Sunday simply to support their team with pride and to watch a football match. Simon, we waited long enough to hear from Celtic and Rangers. The police beat them to it. Were the clubs too slow in the uptake?
The Celtic chairman or whatever role he occupies is right. It's not a race to see who can put the most condemnatory statement out there. But in this day and age, it is a part and parcel of the optics of a media-facing business in football to be upfront and to be across things, so you don't find yourself in the crosshairs of people's judgments. The police officer's description of the circumstances in whoever she was accounting to is almost a sideshow distraction that the two clubs haven't condemned it, because it's really about what happened and how the systems failed and how the policing circumstances were allowed to be at a certain level, and was there enough police supporting it. You talked about experiences that you've had in the past, Jim, of seeing the two teams being separated at fan level, and that's no longer happening now. So there's obviously a change of policy. There's the arguments and debates about whether the 20% rule was enforced by the SFA. People will say, well, it couldn't have been because there's 50,000, there should have been 10,000 fans. If there was only 7,500, that might be because the configuration of the stadium only allowed one stand to be given to the away support, and that's why it was 7,500 and not legitimately 20%, but still an inflated number. Then there was information suggesting that both clubs must have agreed this rather than it being enforced, and around we go. I do find it slightly ridiculous. I thought pitch invasions were something that people didn't want anymore, and something that football had said was no longer part and parcel of the circumstances in which football should be played. There's no place ever on the field for football fans, yet the Celtic chairman seems to be suggesting that it's okay because it's something that happens repeatedly and doesn't create any adverse reaction from people. I found that slightly ridiculous. But I do think his observations about the police, well, he's disappointed in the police because they've brought Celtic into the equation as the fact that neither team's fans have behaved particularly admirably. What we don't get into is, was it policed properly? Was it done properly? Because that's our accusation, insofar as our accusation is relevant. Most people, or certainly I did anyway, last week, drew the conclusion the reason this got out of hand is because there wasn't enough policing resource. No blame attribution to the police about how they've policed, but if they haven't got enough resource to be able to ensure that things like this don't happen, and there was always a distinct possibility with 7,500 fans going into a stadium where they haven't been for some time, in a society right at this moment in time which is very angry and dysfunctional, and a football match being used as perhaps catalyst for bad behaviour, was a distinct possibility why it wouldn't have been policed to the highest level. And I know why it wouldn't have been policed to the highest level, because they won't pay for it. And there's a part of me that says, and I have written articles in the past saying they shouldn't have to pay for it, because the amount of money that football puts into the exchequer in English football is about £6 billion. So when you get people like Mark Roberts, the head of the football unit in this country, saying that it's denying bobbies on the beat because football doesn't pay its bill, that's a load of old crap. But in this instance, there is an example for an individual game in a cup game when neither team's budgets are being affected by this, because there's additional revenue that they could have allocated a much bigger budget to say to the old Bill, what do you want in this one instance, which probably would then be set as a precedent by the police, but in this one instance, it's a cup game, what do you require to police this situation for 7,500 fans so there is not a single opportunity for people to behave badly?
Simon is absolutely right. In terms of the grounds of safety, I mean, we were talking about segregation. There was all sorts of discussion about, because the buses were turning up next to Celtic supporters all over the place. And that, because we haven't had fans in the same stadium for a small number, 800, wasn't it? To go from 800 to 7,500 was just too big.
What's wrong with Celtic, Simon, coming out and saying, well, we're not going to speak for the other club's fans, but as far as we're concerned, some of our fans were wrong to go on the pitch. What's wrong with Rangers saying, we're not going to speak for Celtic, but as far as we're concerned, the number of our fans going on the pitch is unacceptable? What's wrong with that?
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think that ultimately, in this day and age, I don't think it solves anything, because you've got to deal with the reasons why it was allowed to happen. But from the optics of presenting a conversation to people like us so they can't be criticised, which is in part what the statement would be for, because it wouldn't be anything other than that. So, Jim, with respect, it's meaningless. Because if they're going to act behind the scenes and deal with it, what their suggestion is, we don't want to. I said to you the other day, there's this propensity to say if you don't read the papers, you're uninformed. If you do read the papers, you're misinformed. It's not about being right, it's about being first. So the logic of that is get your research done and say, right, this is what happened and this is what we're now going to say about it. But that time has passed now. That could have been 2 or 3 days and gone, right, now we've done our research, we think it was this, that and the other, and now we're going to take some action against some of our fans that broke on the pitch. But if you look into the Celtic guy, his attitude, and I can't speak for Rangers, his attitude was, we ain't done anything wrong.
Exactly. Well, Rangers say there should be a fully independent review into the events surrounding the match. That review must be thorough and wide-ranging. Let's hope it is. And when that comes out, we'll talk about it. It's 1:45.
Just a quick word on some of the other stuff that's been doing the rounds this week. Eddie Hearner's been making more noises, discussing the prospect of AJ. We don't even know when he's going to come back and start fighting again, taking on Tyson Fury. I mean, is this just sort of like, I don't know, barroom talk, or is there real feeling behind it? Is there some substance behind the prospect of them meeting finally?
I think there's a real thirst for it from everybody involved in being able to make that fight. I think we will be a lot further down the line, obviously, if Anthony hadn't suffered the tragedy that he suffered at the back end of last year. And that's the main thing, really, for me. Him getting his head in the right space to compete, competing for the right reasons. getting himself to a place of peace. I know that he's never ever going to get over what happened to him, but if he can get to a place of peace where he can get back in the ring, he can compete, and if he does want to do that again, then I think the obvious turn would be Tyson Fury. I think it would be really, really sad for this era of boxing and this era of boxing fan, and for both of these guys, because I think they'll look back in years gone after their career that they should have done it. I hope that they can get to a point where they do it, because I still think that it is the biggest fight for two British lads stepping in a British ring. Fingers crossed it happens on British soil, that we can get.
Right, final prediction before I let you go. Who sinks more pints of Guinness over the weekend? You in Dublin or Crookie this afternoon while he's watching the Gold Cup?
Oh, that's a killer, that. I think Crookie takes it all. I've been out with Crookie on a couple of occasions, mate, and he is a phenom, isn't he? He knows what he's doing when it comes to sinking pints.
Hello and welcome to talkSPORT Goals. I'm taking you through what should be another busy day of football.
Chance to win it!
We don't need to do that, guys.
I'm going to owe you an apology.
How would you get to that conclusion? That's a weak mentality.
Oh, get out of it.
Well, now, in the world of boxing, Belfast's Anthony Cacace is the new WBA super featherweight champion thanks to a unanimous decision win over James Jazza Dickens at Dublin's 3 Arena. It was quite a fight and quite a performance by Cacace. Top boxing promoter Frank Warren joins us live. Frank, how was it for you? Cacace won it and seemed to win it very well.
It was a fabulous night, sold out. Atmosphere was electric. I can't tell you how good that was, and he done a great job, Anto. And I've got to take my hat off as well to Jazza. He came to fight. He was the champion. He came to fight, and we had a fabulous undercard too. You know, Pierce O'Leary came through, established himself as, I think, a future star, and certainly they loved him over there. They all got behind him, and we got some good youngsters. We had a young Mr. Flood, who made his debut and looked brilliant. I think 2.5 million people have watched his stoppage on YouTube. And our new heavyweight, young Adam, he had his debut and knocked his guy out in the first round, and he'd be a great addition to the heavyweight scene.
What's next for Cacace, do you think, Frank? He's now a 2 times world champion. I mean, he's got a lot on his plate, but it's a very nice position for him to be in. Are we talking unification?
Yeah, I think that's where he's at. That's what he'd like. So we're going to, he's going to take a bit of time out, and then we'll present him with a couple of options, and then we'll go from there. But, Anto's done a fabulous job in turning his life around, and I'm delighted for him. I think he's moving into a new house, and that's what it's all about, securing his future and reaping the rewards of all the hard work and dedication he's now giving boxing.
Good on him. He's super impressive, Cacace, isn't he, Simon?
Yeah, great one. I mean, I didn't think it was the greatest of fights, but it was, it had jeopardy in it because both fighters were honest and decent. I went with Anthony from the beginning because I felt he was bigger and stronger and would see the test of Jazza Dickens and see it off. I wasn't surprised with the outcome. I was hoping for a slightly better fight, but sometimes styles don't necessarily gel. Frank might disagree. I was very impressed with Piers O'Leary, who I've seen previously and liked him. But up and onward for Cacace, after Joe Cordina, after Josh Warrington and Lee Wood, You know, he's now taking the belt from Jazza Dickens. What's the direction of travel for Jazza now, Frank?
Look, Jazza gave a great account of himself, and we'll find a good fight for him. There's a couple of options for him. We'll make sure we give him a fight back.
Yeah, Frank, it begs the question: do you want to be doing more shows in Dublin? As you said, what an atmosphere!
Well, it was, and remember, we sold out 6 weeks ago, so we could probably minimum doubled what we did there. Of course, we'll be back there. It was a great weekend, St Paddy's Day weekend. Ireland did well in the match they had there. They won. They were right touched the weekend. Jessie Buckley won the Best Actress, so it's been a real Irish great night, or great weekend, I should say, for the Irish. It's been brilliant, and we will definitely go back there. And I'm looking to build on the heavyweights, and with young Paddy and with Pierce, and you can also as well put Anto Kakachi into it and try and maybe do a show at Croke Park. That's the ultimate for us.
That'll be all right. And it doesn't stop for you, Frank. Thomas Franklin's on the horizon. How's that looking? How's Moses?
He's well. He's training hard. They both are. And I know Franklin, because the fight was postponed due to Moses' injury. I know that he's super fit, and he's been over here, so he's not got to acclimatise or anything. He's been training in the UK at Don Charles's gym. So this is going to be a good fight, and it's a big fight for Moses. It's a big moment in his career. So I'm looking forward to that. We look like we've done our deal with Gerald Anderson, the US heavyweight. He'll also fight on that card. Sorry, I got that wrong. He'll fight on the 9th of May. I've got him on the 9th of May fighting, which is going to be brilliant. So he's another great addition, US and American heavyweight. Yeah, so that's going to be good. He'll be on our show then. So I'm looking forward to that. That's on the Fabio and Daniel Dubois show. The thing is, we're putting so many great shows on, so many brilliant heavyweight fights. I'll get mixed up with some of them.
Of course you do. You're spoiling us, Frank. What's this I hear about?
I am. I've got to be honest. I agree with you for once, Jim.
Thank you very much for spoiling us. What about the possibility of a show at the Emirates, your beloved Arsenal?
I'd love to do that. I mean, it was a great weekend. I mean, what with Arsenal winning, I can't see them falling over now. I think that the title's there for them. And I want to do that. We want to be the first to ever put a boxing show on there. Certainly the club that I support and love, and we want to emulate young Max and do something really special. Give the fans a treat.
Frank, were you there? Frank Martin here. Were you at the game, Frank, at the weekend?
No, I was in Dublin. I watched the first half, and then I'm sort of watching backwards and forwards. But wasn't he superb? I mean, it was great. It was, until he come on, I think he changed the dynamic of the game when he come on, the youngster. And, you think he's 16, it's scary stuff. But, Arsenal are doing well. And I'm getting paid off of all these so-called experts who keep slagging them off. I don't get it.
Detractors.
Lost. Well, what attractive? But attractive football. They weren't set pieces on Saturday. Well, it was a set piece. It was an Everton set piece he scored from.
Well, I mean, Frank, certainly, I know where you're going with that. Only last week at Cheltenham, and you may as well have a listen because we're going to put it to Martin Keown. Former Chelsea midfielder John Obi Mikel joined us at Cheltenham, and then he launched into your boys.
For me, it's a cheat. They've cheated their way to winning the Premier League. So I wouldn't recognize them as winners because for me, it's illegal the way they're winning games. It's illegal. Unless the Premier League right now, from this weekend, stamp that out. We don't want to see that in the game.
So if you were playing for Arsenal, asked by Arteta, these are the tactics and this is what I want you to do, you'd say, that's not my style of football, I can't do that.
No, you can't because he spent $1 billion.
You would not go with Arteta's tactics?
No, when I look at the team, there's so much creativity in that team. So much creativity. Eze, Odegaard, Saka, let them express themselves. When you watch them, they're so rigid.
Well, so Frank, I mean, you must hate cheats in boxing. And now John Obi Mikel is saying Arsenal are cheating their way to the title.
Yeah, we're cheats. We've only lost 3 games this season. I don't think we've lost a game in 45 or something like that. 3 games, three matches we've lost. We've scored more goals than anybody. We've let in least amount of goals. We're 9 points clear and we're cheating. I mean, what planet is he on? He wasn't out with Alan Brazil, was he, the night before?
No.
No, it was Alan Pardew. Should we put an asterisk now next to the if Arsenal win it? If we played a 16-year-old kid in the competition, is that out of order as well?
What did you make of it, Martin? You've heard it, Frank. Incidentally, thank you so much for joining us, Frank Warren, with us this lunchtime. Just looking back in Kakachi Dickens. When you first heard that from John Obi, what do you think? It's something like 3.5 million views.
Yeah, it's just crazy. I don't know where he's coming from. Arsenal cheating, they're playing within the rules, creating their own rules. No, I mean, look, he's probably forgotten how the teams that he played in, they made it difficult for people. They parked the bus to a certain extent. It's sour grapes beyond belief. Yeah. I mean, some of these former players who support other clubs need to have a good look at themselves.
Are you concerned about midweek against Leverkusen?
I am. They're a decent outfit, Jim. I think they've lost one game in 14. Cameroon striker that they've got up top, Kafana, is a real talent. 19 years of age. Is another young player, by the way. And you look at him, Arsenal will have to be at the very best to go through.
You take them to go through, Martin.
Yeah.
Have you got a feeling? You're quite comfortable that Arsenal are heading towards a Premier League title. If they were to win this as well,
Arsenal are in good shape, and you've got to keep that momentum going. You've got a big cup final coming up at the weekend.
Did they win that incidentally?
They don't play in the Premier League for a month. They box that one away, and then you do the same with the Champions League. You go from step to step, Jim. This is all you were thinking about. Never mind the cup final at the weekend. You've got to get past this one.
Yeah. Wow. And then that would be a first, lifting that trophy in Europe. The Champions League.
It's a long way off, isn't it? You've still got to negotiate quite a bit between now and then, but it's just one game at a time. That's what you can focus on. You don't get involved with the noise. You keep winning games of football, and you find it in some way or other. And to do it through the young kid, I think it's very satisfying, gratifying to win a game in that manner. If you're a part of the Arsenal group and you saw that happen, someone coming through the ranks, was a really galvanising the football club to win that game.
Arsenal will look after this boy, won't they, Simon? They have to.
You would think so, yeah. I mean, they've developed him all the way through the academy, and they've got him on the back of a scholarship going into a pro contract. Of course they will. And how they develop him and how they maintain him should be Arsenal's business and not the media's.
Oh, Mr. Jordan, I'll see you tomorrow at 10. Arsenal invincible, Martin Keown, magnificent. This Monday
enjoyed it, guys.
I'm glad. Well, that's what it's all about. It's 1 o'clock.